The last thing they would expect is to find a suitcase with a human body in it.
The big question is, how the hell did he get there?
They were crazy in love at first, but it quickly became tumultuous. There were infidelities. They'd go back and forth. They'd fight. I think they liked the drama of it.
And the next thing coming out of his mouth is, when I get home, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to smash your face in. He said he was leaving and he wasn't coming back.
Were you ever angry enough to want to see him dead?
There were times I wanted him gone, but gone doesn't mean dead.
And Mel just said, well, I'm a single mom now, and now I've just got to get on with my life. I said, well, no, the next thing is we've got to figure out who did this to him. And after I got off the phone, I said, she did it.
They couldn't find any forensic evidence whatsoever to establish that this was a crime scene.
Do you still insist that you're innocent?
Absolutely. I still feel like, how could somebody think that I did that?
I think she did not actually commit the crime.
It turns out it isn't the end of this story.
My name is Megan Sachs. I'm a criminologist at Fairleigh Dickinson University. In simplest terms, criminology is the scientific study of what causes crime and how the criminal justice system responds to crime.
I've written about 25 true crime books over the years, and I think Melanie Maguire's is perhaps one of the most interesting ones and baffling.
This is Melanie Maguire, arrested today minutes after dropping off her children at daycare.
Melanie Maguire, a New Jersey nurse, was accused of killing her husband, cutting up his body and throwing it into the Chesapeake Bay.
In 2007, what was being called the suitcase murder trial was generating an enormous amount of media attention, not just in New Jersey, but all across the country.
3 bizarre discoveries, 3 separate suitcases, all containing human remains.
The woman who was on trial for her very life. She says the real truth behind the crime has never been revealed.
With no history of violence and no apparent motive for murder, could she really have done it?
She was this beautiful young nurse, and they were this seemingly normal middle-class couple, and the murder happened in such a grisly way.
The idea that this beautiful nurse could have actually killed her husband and then cut him up is just incredible.
Of course, there were the salacious aspects.
Mrs. Maguire is a registered nurse, and prosecutors say she had an affair with a doctor.
She didn't fit the profile, I guess, of a murderer.
Over the years, students and colleagues of ours have come to me and said, you know, Melanie Maguire proclaims her innocence and would love to tell her story.
I started thinking, oh, maybe there is a little more to this case than what you just see on the surface. And then the idea of a podcast came up, and I was all in.
On direct appeal, we examine the murder conviction of Melanie Maguire following a highly publicized trial. Looking at the evidence that was presented and the evidence that may have seemed insignificant at the time, we form our own conclusion about Melanie's guilt.
We here at ABC have our own history with the Melanie Maguire case. Back in 2007, ABC's Cynthia McFadden had the first on-camera interview with the mother of 2 on trial for murdering her husband.
Who is the Melanie Maguire you hope the jury knows?
The one who tried to take care of everybody, who didn't make the smartest decisions, but admitted to those mistakes to the people she trusted most, but did not admit what she's accused of. I have been incarcerated for 12 and a half, going on 13 years now.
Do you still insist that you're innocent?
Absolutely.
You're sitting here a wrongfully convicted person.
Correct. Absolutely.
And what have those years been like?
I tell people it's not as bad as you think in some ways, and it's so much worse than I could ever articulate in others. After all these years, I still feel hurt. I still feel bothered. I still feel like, how could somebody think that I did that?
This whole saga begins on May 5th, 2004, with an odd discovery in Virginia Beach.
Early morning, a couple of fishermen and their kids are out on a boat by the Chesapeake Bay.
Me and my friend Don Connors was going to go out fishing, and we both had days off, and D, or Don, we called him D, he said keep his kids out of school, we were going to take them fishing. So everybody was excited. We went right out through this bridge here, and if you keep on going, you'll run right into the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel.
The Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel is about 17.5 miles long. It really is quite astonishing. It connects the eastern shore of Virginia to Virginia Beach.
Has 2 tunnels for 2 shipping channels, and once you get on the other side, you go north, you're up into Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey. So we went out there and anchored off of Fisherman's Island, and we were just doing some fishing.
And suddenly, one notices that a suitcase has floated by.
We wheeled the boat around, pulled up alongside it. I immediately thought it probably blew off of a car, you know, and off the luggage rack or something. Dee and his son had reached over and were trying to pull it up in. It had some weight to it, so I stopped the boat, reached in and helped him pull that thing up in there. And laid it in the floor of the boat.
They found a dark green Kenneth Cole suitcase in pretty good condition that was apparently part of a luggage set of 3.
They put it on board, and the little boy with them is very, very excited. He thinks it's buried treasure, so he wants to open it.
The contents were covered with a thick trash bag, like a hefty bag or something. And I said, uh-oh. I was a little bit nervous then when I saw the black bags in there. So I turned to say something to Dee, and while I was talking to Dee, the young boy reached down and ripped open the plastic trash bags. There was no doubt of what it was. It was a set of human legs.
There's a pair of male legs from the knee down, look very fresh, and they recoil in horror.
I looked down there and said, oh my gracious. So I closed the bag back up, and I dialed 911.
I was out on patrol in the Chesapeake Bay when I received a radio call. I made arrangements with him to meet me, and he transferred a suitcase over to my boat.
I handed him the luggage, and he seemed surprised. He goes, what do you want me to do with that? And I said, open it up.
I was pretty shocked. I'd never seen a suitcase with body parts in it before. There really wasn't any smell. They actually looked kind of fresh.
The first suitcase being found was big news. It's not, a common find by any means, especially in this area.
This is an alarming story. Everybody wanted to know who the man in the suitcase was.
We kind of figured there had to be other suitcases with other parts in it.
After the initial shock of them finding the suitcase, everyone was just waiting for what was going to wash up next. Chesapeake Bay area, there's a lot of boaters, there are bird watchers, there's Fisherman's Island, a nature sanctuary. This is really kind of a tourist, a fun area.
People are going there to relax or going with their families. The last thing they would expect is to find a suitcase with a human body in it.
It was the start of the summer tourist season, which is huge for Virginia Beach, and getting that kind of negative publicity of bodies washing up in suitcases was something they did not need. 6 days later, the student was on Fisherman's Island in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay, which is a nature preserve. And she saw a dark green Kenneth Cole suitcase.
She was curious what could be contained inside, and she actually pulled a little bit of the black trash bag out of the suitcase, There was such a strong odor of decomposition that she immediately stopped and notified the refuge workers.
The police, they've been expecting this because after the first Kenneth Cole bag with the legs, they suspected there was going to be more.
It was transported to the medical examiner's office in Norfolk, and that's where we actually viewed what the contents inside.
Inside this suitcase would be the torso and the head of a male. The torso is still attached with the arms and the head.
The head was wrapped in what looked like a medical blanket.
The face was somewhat identifiable, but it had been submerged for a while, so extremely bloated.
The medical examiner is able to determine that the victim's been shot multiple times. There are a couple of gunshot wounds in the torso area and one through the head.
There were 2 bullets that were recovered from the body, wad cutter bullets. And wad cutter bullets are not typically used by the average person, but they are used for target practice.
And it became a very big local story.
A student discovered a suitcase near Fisherman Island. Inside, a human head.
It's getting a lot of coverage.
It's the second suitcase in a week found near the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, and the second one containing body parts.
And everybody was waiting for the rest of the body to turn up.
Well, the third suitcase was found on May 16, 2004 in the water by a fisherman.
He saw the suitcase floating in the water. This third suitcase that had been in the water the longest did have some growth on it from floating in the water for so long.
This suitcase contained the pelvis, so from the waist down to above the knees. Authorities realize they have to figure out who it is.
Anytime you find a known body, the first thing you're going to do is look into missing person cases to see if the profile matches anyone who's currently missing.
Because of the naval bases in the area, they're checking military records. They're checking everything they can possibly think of to figure out who this person is.
One of the policemen working on it came up with the idea of getting a sketch artist in.
I immediately took photographs to our sketch artist, and she was able to do a sketch for us, and we eventually released it to the media.
We're hoping maybe this will give us an edge and maybe identify him sooner.
Right now, he's just
John Doe.
May the 21st, Sue sees the picture on TV of a sketch that they had done to find out who this person was.
Sue had been getting out of the shower one morning. The television was on, and as she was getting out, toweling off, she looks at the TV.
This is a sketch of the body that washed ashore near the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel this month.
He belongs to somebody. I mean, he's got loved ones.
She thinks, oh my God, that looks like Bill.
Sue was pretty sure that it was Bill Maguire. This is John and Sue Rice, Bill Maguire's good friends. Bill and John had been friends since their early Navy days. Bill was friends with Sue as well. Melanie knew Sue. The couples had vacationed together.
Sue immediately calls her husband to take a look, and he's not so sure it's Bill. But Sue's convinced it is, in fact, and says, please call Crime Stoppers.
He was very good friends with Mr. Maguire. He told me that Mr. Maguire lived in Woodbridge, New Jersey. He was married to Melanie Maguire, and they had 2 small children.
He wanted to know more about the dynamics of Bill, why I thought it could be Bill. And the only way that I thought it could be Bill is that, yeah, he's missing too.
John Rice had spoke to Cindy Lagash, who is William Maguire's sister.
I got a call from Cindy. She said, John, is Billy there? And I said, no, he's not. What's going on? And she said, well, Bill and Melanie got in an argument and he left and he hadn't been heard from.
He said he was leaving and he wasn't coming back. My husband was full of bluster when it came to stuff like that. He would say things like that all the time. I didn't actually believe it was the last time I was ever going to see my husband.
William Maguire had, in fact, vanished. Mr. Rice and his wife, Mrs. Rice, eventually agreed to come down to the police department in Virginia Beach and view some photos.
Bill had a little red mark right here, and that's what I kept zoning in on when I saw the picture. That's exactly what I zoned in on. I mean, I've known Bill for 22 years. I kept seeing that, and I was pretty certain that it was Bill.
Once we had a name and approximate age, we ran him through our computer system.
He ran a check on Bill Maguire, and he found that Maguire had been arrested in Virginia for a reckless driving charge in the 1980s.
His fingerprints were on file already, which made it a lot easier, and they're very quickly able to confirm that the fingerprints matched.
The man in the suitcases was identified as 39-year-old William Maguire of Woodbridge, New Jersey.
So according to Melanie, she just thinks her husband is missing, but she is about to get the news that will change her life forever.
And I said, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, that William is deceased. And I just burst into tears.
Now they've solved the mystery of who the man in the suitcase is. The big question is, how the hell did he get there? The Melanie Maguire story is centered around New Jersey. They lived in the working class part of New Jersey, where The Sopranos took place, which was perhaps the hottest show at the time.
Melanie is a Jersey girl, born and raised there. Her parents are Linda and Michael Caporero.
She's a great, great daughter, mother, friend, full of life, fun-loving, a good girl, never in trouble, never in trouble.
Always trying to help people.
She's working in the restaurants in Jersey. She's a waitress, and she met Bill Maguire. He was also a server.
Bill was known as the rude waiter because he would speed people up in a jocular way, but they loved it, and he would ask for the rude waiter.
What was he like?
Funny, clever. He had a big heart when he wanted to. He wanted all the right things.
He was very, very loyal. He was a tremendous friend. When I first met Bill, I didn't know what to make of him because he was really a practical joker and whatnot, and I thought, well, this guy could probably get on somebody's nerves with all this. But he was so funny, he just kind of overcame whatever resistance you might have to him.
Melanie was a fertility nurse when I met her. It's just so caring, so nurturing.
She was working with women who were going through really tough times, trying to get pregnant. She was very compassionate, and her patients really loved her.
What made you a good nurse?
Type A personality. The way I looked at it, I was not going to be happy with anything less than the total comfort level of my patients.
In 1998, Bill called John and I and told us that he wanted to bring Melanie down to meet us. Melanie, she's a really nice person to be around. Physically, she's beautiful. She's very smart.
She had a lot of the same sense of humor that Bill had. When Bill was making jokes, Melanie would be right in there.
He liked to razz people. She would razz him right back. He really was crazy about her.
What was your relationship with Bill like in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was the challenge, it was the chase. It was, we had a bit of a tempestuous relationship even before we got married. We would break up, get back together.
Bill and Melanie dated for quite a while. They were crazy in love at first, but it quickly became tumultuous. There were infidelities. They'd go back and forth. They'd fight. I think they liked the drama of it.
I think she thought she could make a difference in his life. I think she thought that she could maybe change him, make him happy. She truly did love him.
You guys want some more champagne? All right, let me go get a bottle. Because there's nothing in there, is there?
They got married in 1999. It was probably one of the most extravagant weddings we've ever been to.
Mr. and Mrs. William Maguire. Melanie on her wedding day looked absolutely gorgeous, angelic, just perfect.
Both Bill and Melanie seemed like they couldn't have been happier.
She was a little naughty.
He was marrying a girl that he absolutely loved in a way that maybe he hadn't loved anybody before.
Bill, could you put your hand up? This is the last time Bill's going to have the upper hand.
Bill Maguire got a $65,000 a year job with the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Bill and Melanie settle into a rented townhouse in Woodbridge, New Jersey.
Woodbridge is a sprawling, densely populated township on the suburban end of New Jersey's industrial flatlands. If you're going down I-95, you're taking exit 11 to get off to Woodbridge.
We were both happy, new parents, and then things changed drastically.
He had a dual personality. He could be very likable, and then on the other hand, he'd be very calculating, manipulate you.
And he had always had issues with gambling, and he would go through periods where he would go down to Atlantic City a lot.
There were times that he would just take off to AC and gamble, and you wouldn't hear from him, wouldn't know what was going on.
He found he could make some money gambling. There were good times with that, and there were bad times. And there were a couple of times I put my foot down, and I said, that's it, no more. So then he would get involved in the stock market. He wanted what he wanted, and he couldn't get it fast enough. And with that came frustration, and eventually that frustration became directed at me. There was one particular argument over the phone where he had gotten stopped for a traffic ticket. He had an absolutely atrocious driving record. So I started to argue back, and the next thing coming out of his mouth is, when I get home, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to smash your face in.
It's very difficult for me to think back on it because I actually drove off in the middle of the night, and I had left and I should have stayed gone.
Why did you stay?
I wasn't strong enough to leave.
Did you love him?
I did, and even though, now at this point, bear in mind, I'm having an affair.
What appealed to you about Brad Miller?
He was just very, very tender. I really tried to fight it, but I couldn't fight it.
Life for the Maguires is getting a little more complicated, and then one night, it all erupts.
Bill was probably the most streetwise person I've ever known, and I can tell you he never saw it coming.
Melanie is loving, caring, funny, considerate. We just clicked right away, to the point that I asked her to be in my wedding when I got married.
Love is always patient and kind. It is never jealous. Love is never boastful or conceited, and is not resentful. Love takes no pleasure in other people's sins, but delights in the truth.
In June 2001, the Maguires were already married for a few years. And even though there was some friction in the marriage, Melanie Maguire decided to have another child.
Little does her husband know just how ill-timed this pregnancy is. Not only is Melanie about to have their second child, she's also having an affair.
Dr. Bradley Miller was a partner in RMA Associates, and Melanie was working as one of his nurses.
He was so kind. I'd come back to my desk after a long meeting with a patient, and there'd be lunch sitting on my desk waiting for me. You know, there was always a little bit of flirtation, banter back and forth.
Melanie was about 38 weeks pregnant, and things changed between her and Dr. Miller.
I was about to go out on maternity leave, and I was sitting actually in his office at his desk. I just mentioned I have a pinched nerve in my neck, and he put his hands on my shoulders and started to rub my back. I really tried to fight it because this was not going to be good. This was not going to be good for anybody, but I couldn't fight it.
After Melanie came back from maternity leave, she and Dr. Miller started a full-blown affair, and it seemed like they were falling in love with each other, although they were both married with young children.
Shortly after my second son was born, that's when things began the final descent downhill, if you will.
Melanie and Bill moved to the Woodbridge apartment. This is a townhome. They don't own it, they're renting it.
He was constantly looking at homes. He wanted to end up buying a house before he turned 40.
He did want to move down here to Virginia Beach. We took pictures of houses in our neighborhood, but Melanie just would not hear of it.
They ended up putting a really sizable deposit down on a very nice home in New Jersey.
It was a very nice house. It had quite a bit of land. It was a $500,000 home.
It was very contradictory. She's becoming closer to Dr. Miller, but she's going along with Bill's idea of buying a house.
The marriage wasn't going well at all. So why were you buying this $500,000 house together then?
The idea for me was we had a chunk of money, cash, that we were putting down on this house. In the past, we'd come to points where we had been in similar situations, and he would, ultimately something would happen and he would go and gamble the money away. I figured this at least was an investment.
On April 28th, they're due to close on the house at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she's in constant touch with Dr. Miller, who's pleading with her not to buy the house. He wants to be with Melanie, and he sees a future life with her.
And Melanie told him that, you know, not to worry about it. It's going to be okay. I'll take care of it.
After they close on the house, they go back to their rented townhouse. Bill is so excited. He calls John Rice. John said that Bill had never been happier. The last person Melanie speaks to that night is Dr. Miller. She tells him, look, we've closed on the house. Bill's had some red wine. He's asleep on the couch, but when he wakes up, we're going to sort this out, and I'm going to tell him I want a divorce.
Melanie described the events that would happen later on as a big fight.
You and Bill had a horrible fight, yes?
Correct. We fell asleep on the couch, woke up early morning hours, and it was never a bad time for an argument. We're talking probably 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And it starts on the house. I settled for that house. The hell are you talking about? You settled for that house. It's a $500,000 house. That's not what I wanted.
Melanie says that Bill turned around and said, what I really wanted was a house in Virginia for cheaper, but you refused to let us do that, and so I have to settle. And she says this turns into a very heated argument.
From there, things became more physical.
How physical? In what way?
He shoved a dryer sheet in my mouth. He had a thing about dryer sheets.
The story that Melanie tells about a fight that seems to escalate over a dryer sheet is the same story she told us back when we first spoke with her.
We're still arguing, and there's the laundry basket, and there's a dryer sheet just hanging out of one of the baby's sleeves. He hated them. He thought it was lazy that I wouldn't stand there and put in the liquid fabric softener, and yeah. And it went out of control. This was the type of mother I was, that I would leave this sheet in there for my baby to possibly choke on. Before I know it, I'm up against the wall, and the dryer sheet is being shoved into my throat. And then he just smacked me.
In the face?
Yeah, open hand, because he probably would have broken my cheek if it had been a closed fist. And I looked down, and there's my 2-year-old.
I grabbed the baby and went to the bathroom right behind me and shut the door. I just wanted away from him at that point. He said he was leaving and he wasn't coming back, and I could tell my children why they didn't have a father.
Did he say this to you through the bathroom door?
Yeah, through the bathroom door the entire time. I imagine he was packing things and leaving. He was up and down the stairs a lot, but every trip back and forth berating me.
What's the last thing you remember saying to him?
Stop. Stop.
Melanie said he'd driven off, and she presumed he was in Atlantic City.
He would have been back. He would have been back. I knew it.
But this isn't just a few days that Bill Maguire is gone. We're talking weeks.
What bothered me was that Melanie never reached out and said, hey, Bill's missing.
She never reported her husband missing, and it's almost 30 days.
The fact that we never heard anything from her was deeply suspicious to me.
Love is always ready to excuse, to trust, to hope, and to endure whatever comes. Love does not come to an end. This is the word of the Lord.
In the early morning hours of April 29, 2004, Melanie Maguire said that she and her husband Bill had a violent fight and that he left and she never saw him again.
Melanie says the next day she got her kids up, she took them to daycare, and she started trying to figure out how she was going to move on with her life without Bill.
And during this, the next day, the day after that, you didn't hear anything from him?
No.
Did you try calling him directly?
No, because this is what used to happen when we fought. You know, I'd call, whether it was to tell him off or to try to apologize or what. We just end up getting back into it again. I'm done now. I'm done.
She retains a divorce attorney, and at this point she does tell the divorce attorney that she has not seen her husband in a few days. And according to Melanie, the attorney advised her not to file a missing persons report.
My heart broke for her. She didn't deserve, nobody deserved that. But I told her that, you know, she needed to think about herself right now. She needs to protect herself.
I called a business associate of mine who was an attorney. She said, you need to get a restraining order.
State your full name.
Melanie Lynn Maguire.
She had to go in front of a judge and give sworn statement about the incident that happened.
Tell me what happened that brought you to court today for a temporary restraining order.
My husband and I closed on our first house on Wednesday.
That should be a positive thing, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should. He's been behaving really erratically.
Ms. Maguire, you're safe here. Don't worry.
Melanie explained to the judge how Bill had been violent with her.
Did he hit you, ma'am?
No, not until, well, I don't mean to sound like I had absolutely no part in this. I said some not nice things and slapped me.
As part of the questions, Melanie was asked by the judge if she owned any firearms.
Do you know if there's any weapons?
Not to my knowledge.
This is a sketch of the body that washed ashore near the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel this month.
We're hoping maybe this will give us an edge and maybe identify him sooner.
About a month goes by between the time that Bill disappears and when Sue Rice identifies Bill Maguire after seeing the sketch on local TV. The next thing police have to do is notify Melanie Maguire of the death of her husband.
Melanie was asked to come down to the police station.
The officer came out and he says, "Is your husband William Maguire?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, that William is deceased." And I just burst into tears.
But there's one thing she never asked. How was Bill Maguire murdered?
They did not tell her how and the condition in which he was found.
That would be one of the first questions that I would ask.
The next step was that the Virginia police wanted to speak with Melanie. Melanie agrees, but she brings her divorce attorney with her and another criminal attorney in that practice.
Conducting an interview with the victim's wife with two attorneys present is highly unusual. First time I have ever had that happen to me. She was nervous, she was visibly shaking, she made expressions like she was crying, but she never had a tear in her eye. I asked her if she had any luggage, and she informed us that they didn't have any matching luggage.
The next day, Melanie told detectives she suddenly remembered that the Maguires did own a matching set of designer luggage.
I showed her a picture of one of the pieces of luggage that we recovered in the bay, and she identified that as belonging to them.
They asked what kind of person Bill was, and she said he was the kind of person that had a knack for pissing people off.
She asked us, where did we find her husband's vehicle at? I told her at that point we hadn't found her husband's vehicle. And she said that probably a good place to look would be Atlantic City, New Jersey. She also informed us that her husband had a gambling problem.
Did he get involved with the wrong people? That's what I would have to believe, that he had gotten himself into something, and Bill always thought he could handle everything.
He was always into some kind of deal, so I think maybe this deal was his last deal.
After the interview was done that evening, We also conducted a search at their old apartment building. The apartment was empty. She had already moved out.
They asked him about Bill's possessions and his clothes.
We discovered that Miss Maguire had already given all of her husband's belongings away.
Virginia Beach detectives find out that Melanie Maguire had given most of Bill's belongings away to a friend's cousin, and they wanted to track that man down. Eventually they did and found out that most of Bill's clothing was still in black trash bags, much like the bags that contained Bill Maguire's body parts.
The garbage bag, by sight, looked identical.
Things are starting to make sense with the detectives. There's black trash bags, and there was also the hospital blanket that the head was wrapped into. And they're thinking, well, Melanie Maguire is a nurse. That's kind of an odd coincidence.
At Melanie's suggestion, detectives start to search Atlantic City for Bill's car. And lo and behold, that's exactly where they find it.
The Atlantic City forensic unit processed Mr. Maguire's vehicle. They took photos, they fingerprinted, they vacuum cleaned the floorboards.
The body was released to Melanie on a Tuesday. Immediately she had him cremated. And the funeral lasted all of 10-15 minutes at the most. She called the following evening after the funeral, and at that point I just kind of blasted her. I just told her, I said, Melanie, Bill deserves so much more. And Mel just said, well, I'm a single mom now, and now I've just got to get on with my life. I said, well, no, the next thing is we've got to figure out who did this to him. And after I got off the phone, I remember hanging it up, and I said, John, she did it. She did it.
Everything pointed to Melanie Maguire.
Through wiretapping her phones, the police discovered the relationship that she was having with Dr. Miller.
It's a eureka moment because it provides motive.
I've told them everything that I know, but they're, they just don't.
They want you to break.
What's the last thing you remember saying to him?
Stop. Stop.
People like to believe that someone was capable of committing this type of murder.
Accused of cutting up his body and throwing it into the Chesapeake Bay.
That the person who did that would look like a monster. But sometimes killers look just like Melanie Maguire.
Is there anything else you're not telling me? Like what? Like I killed him? Did you? Thanks for asking.
A scorched earth investigation was conducted, and the lack of evidence is resounding.
The evidence in this case points to a well-organized, meticulously planned execution of a murder.
Computer searches that said how to murder someone, how to poison someone. Basically, multiple searches about how you kill someone.
I don't get to be an evil genius and an idiot at the same time.
I believe that Melanie was wrongfully convicted.
Who do you think killed your husband?
Melanie Maguire, once a married mother to 2 little boys and a fertility nurse, is today a 47-year-old inmate at the Edna Mann Correctional Facility in Clinton, New Jersey.
In here, guilt and innocence is irrelevant in day-to-day life. I have 6 numbers and a letter after my name, the same as the woman on one side of me and the same as the woman on the other side of me.
After Virginia Beach exhausted their investigation, they realized all signs pointed north to New Jersey.
My name is Patty Prezioso. I was the lead investigator in the Melanie Maguire investigation and prosecution.
Patty Prezioso was a very driven and highly successful Assistant Attorney General in New Jersey.
You
let the evidence guide you and you follow it until it's clear what happened.
She was extremely competent, and it was obvious.
The task force had local police, state police, the Attorney General's office. They decided to treat this case with top priority.
It was clear that he had been shot, and trying to find out if any of the people close to Bill owned a gun was a top priority.
The detectives don't find any record of Melanie buying a gun in New Jersey, so they decide to check Pennsylvania.
They knew that Pennsylvania was close, and a lot of people will go to Pennsylvania for firearms because the gun laws are more lax. There's less of a waiting period, and so you can go in and essentially walk out the same day with a firearm.
It turned out that when the record check was done with Pennsylvania, a record came back that Melanie Maguire had purchased a gun.
I remember plain as day when she came in, because not many women come into the shop. She filled the forms out, and then when she wrote down her occupation, that she was a nurse, that stuck in my mind, because I guess that was the first time I ever sold a gun, to a nurse.
Melanie bought a Taurus 38 Special, and she bought wad cutter bullets.
And that gun was purchased just 2 days before Melanie Maguire said her husband went missing.
And remember, early on, Virginia detectives talked to Melanie, and she never mentioned anything to them about buying a gun.
I had informed my attorneys of the purchase of the gun, and they said, well, if they ask, don't lie, but don't offer any information. And they never asked about a gun.
Melanie bought the gun because Bill wanted her to buy the gun. She could get it, he wanted it. What he wanted, he got.
Because Bill Maguire had a felony conviction stemming from his horrendous driving record, he was barred from purchasing firearms.
You say your husband asked you to purchase the gun, but you purchased a gun just 2 days before your husband went missing.
Of course, it's a coincidence. However, he was on me for a while about that, about trying to get that. And if something was happening, if he was in some sort of trouble, that may very well have been the reason why he was so intent on getting it.
Once the police really honed in on Melanie, they began wiretapping her phones.
Hello. Hi.
The surveillance was so intense that over a 40-day period, they recorded 500 hours of her phone calls.
Every time you get your head back above water. Yep. And that hand reaches out from beyond the grave.
A lot of those calls were very cryptic.
Hey.
How you doing? I spoke to, what's his name, about shipping?
Alex.
I didn't want to say name. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
She used the phrase a lot, being cut off at the knees.
At least meet with a lawyer ahead of time who might cut it off at the knees.
Doesn't that look suspicious?
It doesn't matter what it looks like.
She was a little salty. That was her personality, though. She was a Jersey girl.
A lot of them were to her boyfriend, Dr. Bradley Miller.
It was very clear right from the beginning that the relationship with Dr. Miller was different. There was a change in her voice. It was a softer tone.
It's a eureka moment when they realize that she's having an affair because it provides motive. Dr. Miller also becomes a suspect. So one night when Dr. Miller was leaving work, he was going to his car. The detectives came out to confront him.
Dr. Miller was adamant that he had nothing to do with any crime and he didn't know anything about this. And so I think the police said, well, prove it. If you're willing to wear a wire, we'll believe you.
It is now 2:30 p.m., May 31st, 2005. Brad Miller making an outgoing call to Melanie Maguire.
Hello?
What's up? I've told them everything that I know. But they just don't.
They want you to break.
I mean, if you want us to stick together, I gotta know everything now. Before this goes any further.
What do you mean you have to know everything now?
I mean, there's no other secrets between us, right?
That I can think of.
You swear you have nothing to do with us.
In those intercepted phone calls, another friend she was speaking to was Jim Finn.
Melanie met Jim Finn in nursing school, and Jim admittedly had a crush on Melanie.
But once she left nursing school, she never talked to him again. You know, that was it until February 2004, and she suddenly got in touch with him again.
When she needed something, he was someone that, you know, she could manipulate, and she knew he was a lover of guns.
The police also approach Jim Finn because they find that before Bill disappeared, she's been talking to him about the firearms.
She said to him, hey, I need to talk to you. There's some weird stuff going on here, and Bill is acting weird.
Jim, who really still holds the torch for Melanie, and Melanie knows that, says, well, maybe you should get a gun to defend yourself.
Investigators pick up Jim Finn, who also allows them to record his conversations with Melanie. And once they hear what's on those calls, they're satisfied Finn knew nothing about the murder.
The reason I asked you about buying a gun is because my husband wanted one. He wanted one? Yeah. Not only did he want one, I bought one for him. Why didn't you tell me?
At the time the detective spoke to Jim Finn, he had no idea that Melanie Maguire had purchased a gun. He was surprised.
Is there anything else you're not telling me? Like what? Like I killed my husband? Did you? No. But thanks for asking.
Melanie never wavers on whether or not she was involved. It is always a hard no.
I want you to tell me the truth. I'm telling you the truth. I did not do it.
She was under a microscope. Everything she did was being watched. Everything she said was being listened to.
Melanie does something that most people would find a little suspicious.
Investigators start looking at her E-ZPass records. They notice trips to Atlantic City.
She knew that Bill Maguire's car was in Atlantic City because she put it there. That requires 2 drivers. So that means someone helped her.
What investigators find in Atlantic City has them wondering, did Melanie have an accomplice? And if so, who was it? The next set of clues in the mystery of who killed Bill Maguire leads investigators to a 170-mile stretch of toll road, the Garden State Parkway. With Melanie now the prime suspect, detectives start pulling her records. They try to track her movements in the days around her husband's disappearance, and one of those is her E-ZPass statement.
So when investigators start looking at her E-ZPass records, they notice that there were charges for 2 trips to Atlantic City.
On April 30th, 2004, just 2 days after the fight Melanie said that she and Bill had, Melanie does something that is very odd and most people would find a little suspicious.
I'm starting to become more actively angry at him. And I'm thinking, that son of a bitch, I know where he is.
According to Melanie, she decides that he's probably in Atlantic City gambling, so she's going to drive down there and she's going to look for his car.
Absolutely not rational, but get in the car and go down there. And I'm driving down, and I take the first pass on this highway, and I see a dark sedan. There's no way. There's no way. And lo and behold, there it is.
Once Melanie spots Bill's car from the highway, she decides she's going to move his car. Melanie says in the past, when they're angry at each other, it's a way of messing with each other, I guess you could say.
Pull off onto a little side street, and I parked my car, and it was like Mission Impossible. Scooted up to the car, got in, started it, and drove away.
And where'd you put it?
What I believe to be the Flamingo Hotel.
What Melanie said was, I was going to move his car to the seediest part of town, the most annoying for him to find.
That just didn't make any sense. That he was physically abusive to her, but then she goes to mess with a car with a guy that she claims she doesn't want to be around.
It sounds beyond ridiculous sitting here saying it, and I acknowledge that, and I can't, you know, it's the truth.
It's an incredible story, meaning it's just not credible.
We believe she was planting his car in Atlantic City. She was trying to create an illusion that Bill Maguire was still alive. That requires two drivers. So certainly that means someone helped her. Someone had her Pathfinder, and she was driving Bill Maguire's car. They put the car at the Flamingo Hotel, and then she went home with the person driving her car.
And investigators thought they'd struck pay dirt when they discovered that hotel's parking lot had surveillance cameras.
In truth, of course, the footage did not capture who the driver was.
The surveillance video from the Flamingo Hotel actually showed the victim's vehicle being pulled into a parking space. Because of the darkness and the glare and the background lights, you could not actually see the person that was occupying the vehicle.
There was another inexplicable road trip, this time to Delaware, 5 days after her husband went missing.
She had shared with Dr. Miller that in the early morning hours of May 4th, she was actually furniture shopping.
Investigators think that this Delaware furniture trip is really just a ruse.
That same road would have taken her to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel.
Normally, someone would take the New Jersey Turnpike to go over the Delaware Memorial Bridge, picking up Route 13, which runs south to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and Tunnel.
Patty Precioso says that Melanie actually left the night before from New Jersey, drove Bill's remains to Virginia.
We believe that that was when she took the suitcases with Bill's remains and got rid of them in the Chesapeake Bay. And the first suitcase turned up the very next day.
But of course, Melanie thinks this theory is preposterous.
Virginia Beach is another 450 miles from Delaware. So, I mean, you're talking about hours, and there just isn't enough time.
And why would she drive all the way down to Chesapeake with the body parts in the car? Thinking, I'm not going to get stopped, I'm not going to break down. What a chance that is. You know, I mean, you can't stop on a bridge and open a window and throw 3 suitcases out.
Maybe if it was one of these pieces of circumstantial evidence for which you might have a reasonable explanation for 1 or 2, but we're talking a large amount. You can't have reasonable explanations for all of them.
It's a mountain, and it's a lot of coincidences, and that's absolutely.
But coincidences don't always make for the best evidence, and detectives were still searching for any physical evidence that would link Melanie Maguire to her husband Bill's murder.
Where is the proof? Where is the forensic evidence?
The task force is convinced that Bill was murdered and dismembered at their townhouse in Woodbridge, so they concentrate on that.
They went back 4 to 5 times to search for any evidence.
They did everything that you would typically think of, right? They brought in the luminol, pulled down parts of the walls, they pulled out the piping, pulling floorboards up. They really turned this place upside down a number of times.
They were trying to find bullets, traces of blood, and nothing ever came up.
Couldn't find any forensic evidence whatsoever to establish that this was a crime scene.
I don't know how you would dismember a body and effectively clean that up.
Despite that glaring lack of physical evidence, investigators still believe the circumstantial evidence is enough, and they arrest Melanie Maguire.
So surreal. Day like any other, getting the kids off to daycare.
We surveilled her to the school, waited for her to drop her children off.
Walking out of the building, I'm not even off the curb. Melanie Maguire, can you come with us, please? I knew.
2 years and 10 months after the first suitcase washed up, the trial against Melanie Maguire commences in Middlesex County, and it was a sensation.
The evidence will show that while Bill was engrossed in purchasing the house, the defendant was very busy planning his death.
There was no proof that Melanie Maguire murdered her husband.
The prosecutor said either Melanie Maguire is guilty or she's the unluckiest woman in the world.
On Monday, March 5th, 2007, 2 years and 10 months after the first suitcase had washed up in the Chesapeake Bay, Melanie Maguire went on trial for her husband's first-degree murder.
This was a case that had garnered a lot of media attention in New Jersey. It had all the elements that it was going to be a salacious trial.
The judge let us know that the trial was going to be televised.
Let's bring a couple of experts into the conversation to help us sort through yesterday's evidence.
It made people act differently.
I think Melanie loved the idea that she was the center of attention.
She seemed very relaxed, much more relaxed than I would have been.
It was a double-edged sword, because if she sat there, you know, more stoic, she looked nasty or she looked mean. And then when she was being more upbeat and talking to people, oh, well, you know, she's joking around at her own trial. There was nothing she could do that wasn't going to be criticized.
By the time Melanie Maguire gets to trial, she's hired Stephen Tirano and Joe Tacopina to represent her. Joe Tacopina was a high-profile celebrity attorney.
Joe Tacopina.
Joe Tacopina.
Joining me now, Joe Tacopina. He's the attorney for Alex Rodriguez.
He feels just as comfortable in front of a TV camera as in front of a jury.
A scorched earth investigation was conducted, and the lack of evidence is resounding.
The evidence in this case points to a well-organized, meticulously planned execution of a murder.
Is that a fair description of you? Were you somebody, if you were going to do something, you were going to do it all the way?
Correct. And I would counter that argument with, if that's the case, then I would have been sure to not include blankets that could be traced to me, my own luggage. I don't get to be an evil genius and an idiot at the same time.
They're not going to be able to tell you where William Maguire was killed, how he was killed, when he was killed.
The defense were really trying to play to the jury that Bill was a major gambler and he may have owed thousands and thousands of dollars.
He was a big gambler because he gambled beyond his means. When you have money out on the street and you're behind, and you're not making payments, you know what happens? You get shot here and you get shot here.
As prosecutors start laying out what they believe Melanie Maguire did to Bill, it all starts with something they found in his car after it was processed in Atlantic City.
When investigators first recovered Bill's car, they found a bottle of chloral hydrate, a red liquid, and also a syringe in it.
State's Exhibit 983. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's the vial we dispensed the liquid in.
Chloral hydrate is, have you ever heard the term slip somebody a Mickey? It's the Mickey. It's what it is. It's almost like a knockout drug.
They do a lot of investigating on this chloral hydrate, and eventually they find out that it was purchased the morning that Bill disappeared.
Somebody dropped off this prescription for chloral hydrate at the Walgreens pharmacy, which is just down the road from where Melanie's children went to preschool.
But the prescription pad was that of Dr. Brad Miller, who was Melanie's boss. So the light bulb goes off and they're thinking right away, clearly Melanie had access to this prescription pad. She used it, she filled it.
Chloral hydrate was necessary for this defendant to have control, and even more importantly, it was necessary to her that Bill Maguire had no control. Dr. Miller looked at the prescription and he said, "That's not my signature, and it appears to be Melanie Maguire's handwriting."
Prosecutors also focused on what they said Melanie was doing in the days before her husband's disappearance. For that, they looked at the Maguires' home computer.
We had it forensically examined, and it really was just astounding seeing what the internet searches were for. Can you describe the searches that you recovered?
How to purchase guns illegally, how to commit murder, and undetectable poisons was searched.
It didn't look good. It looked like someone was searching how to, sedate someone or how to kill them.
I'm a nurse. I was a nurse. And I don't need to look up things like that. If I wanted to look for something like that, I have a PDR, physician's desk reference. I have a book that I can look in that doesn't leave an internet history.
But both Melanie and Bill use this computer. So it's really hard to figure out who was searching these things.
Now, you have absolutely no idea of knowing who actually conducted the searches that you talked about, correct?
No, I don't.
One of the things we can say for certain is that your husband didn't commit suicide. He didn't shoot himself. Correct. He wasn't able to carve his own body up. And yet there's a suggestion from the defense that some of the online searches were things that he was in fact doing, not that you were doing.
It wasn't me.
Although investigators found no physical evidence in the Maguires' home, they did find something significant in Bill Maguire's car.
After Bill's car was recovered in Atlantic City, our criminalist was able to locate several pieces of small flesh. These pieces of flesh are an artifact of Bill Maguire's body being disarticulated. The phrase was used, human sawdust.
Human sawdust is a term that did not exist until this case, as I understand it.
I found particles that, to me, look like it could be possibly human tissue.
DNA results indicated that the flesh belonged to Bill Maguire.
What this really was a few pieces of microscopic skin cells that were a little bit deeper than the skin we passively shed.
Could those tissues, the tissue that you looked at, be shed from a live human being?
It cannot be shed from a live human being. It's not a typical shedding process at all.
Their theory was that this nurse, who was kind of so meticulous, had somehow just forgotten to wipe the bottom of her shoes, that she accidentally tracked these human sawdust particles of Bill's body from the house to the car.
Thank you, Your Honor. There were 81 witnesses in 7 weeks. Good morning, Dr. Miller.
Good morning.
Dr. Miller was the testimony that everyone was most anticipating. He was going to be the big star of the trial.
I was having an affair, and my whole life turned upside down.
Were you in love with the defendant?
Do you want to call your next witness, please?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Dr. Bradley Miller.
The most anticipated day of this trial is when the man whom Melanie Maguire had a 3-year affair with, Dr. Bradley Miller, took the stand.
Everybody knew that that was the prosecution's star witness, and the court was filled.
And when you saw him, what was your feeling?
How could you? How could you?
Dr. Miller was in a very difficult spot. He and his family had gone through a very difficult time, and it was just made clear to him, just take a deep breath and make sure you tell the absolute truth.
Can you describe to the jury what was your relationship with her?
We worked together. She was an excellent nurse. She took very good care of the patients. They all loved her.
Sir, did there come a time when your relationship with Miss Maguire got more intimate?
Yes, it did. It was towards the end of her second pregnancy. She was about 38 weeks pregnant. And before she went on maternity leave, we had oral sex in the office.
So not proud of that.
It has to be pretty hard to hear it come out in court.
Hard for me to hear it, hard for me to think, oh my God, my parents are hearing this, my 84-year-old grandmother is hearing this.
Were you in love with the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Had the two of you discussed future plans together?
Yes, we were hoping to be together in the future.
If we do make it through this, I'll just have to take whatever money I can get and get away.
With Dr. Miller on the stand, prosecutors were able to score some points because there were certain things that Melanie never told Dr. Miller.
Did the defendant ever tell you that she purchased a gun?
No, ma'am. I had no knowledge of her purchasing a gun, no.
Did the defendant ever tell you that she went to Atlantic City and parked her husband Bill's car at the Flamingo Hotel?
No, she did not.
Did there come a time when the defendant shared with you that she had done that?
Yes, and I asked her, well, why didn't you tell me this sooner? And she told me that she didn't want me to be upset, that she's going back to find Bill, to bring him back, and rekindle the relationship.
We looked very closely at Dr. Miller. There was no evidence connecting him with this crime.
This is in reference to consensual recordings between Brad Miller and Melanie Maguire.
You agreed to consensually record a conversation with the defendant.
Yes, I did.
Prosecutors really wanted the jury to hear those intercepted calls so they could get a sense that maybe her desire to be with him was the motive for the murder.
During the calls, Dr. Miller spoke about their future together, probably prompted by detectives.
After a divorce, and she gets half the money, I mean, it'd still be something to live on.
The understanding between us had always been that the children came first. And he starts talking about divorce and a future and moving forward, and I even say on the tape, why are you talking like this all of a sudden?
I'm confused because you've been the one to stress to me that we have to wait to see how everything plays out.
The defense was also able to score some points with those recordings, which called into question Dr. Miller's character.
At the time of those secret recordings, he was still having an intimate relationship with her.
After you tape recorded her, sir, you then had additional intimate relations, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell her that, by the way, that you had tape recorded her?
No, I did not.
I think that was damaging to his character and was a very big turnoff to the jury.
Have you ever had contact again with Dr. Brad Miller?
No. No. After the day he testified, I haven't laid eyes on him since.
You have no desire?
It's tough. That was a tough betrayal to swallow.
What matters is whether the state, and the burden is on me and I welcome it, whether the state has proved each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. When you combine the computer searches, the prescription for chloral hydrate on prescription pads that the defendant used, and then you have the victim found inside their matching luggage, the bullets consistent with the gun that she purchased.
It was a mountain of evidence. There's no question in my mind that she did it. I also don't believe that she acted alone.
Now, who helped her?
Paddy Precioso told the jury that there was a very, very good chance that Melanie had an accomplice.
Although he was never charged, investigators took a hard look at Melanie's stepfather, Michael Caporero.
The prosecutor needed somebody, so they focused in on me. Anything they wanted, we gave them. We gave them DNA, we gave them hair samples. I had nothing to do with anything involving that crime.
You don't need the precise when. You don't need the precise where.
You don't have to find that she pulled the trigger. You don't have to find that she had hands-on physically in regards to his death. Well, boy, that leaves a lot of speculation out there for the jury. You can't guess someone into prison for the rest of their life.
The jury goes into deliberation, and Melanie and her family are waiting on pins and needles.
I was very concerned. I think we all as people like to believe that if someone was capable of committing this type of murder, that the person who did that would look like a monster. But sometimes killers look just like Melanie Maguire.
The day the verdict was read, the atmosphere in the courtroom was just electric.
Has the jury reached a verdict in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you find as to the count of the indictment charging Melanie Maguire with the murder of William Maguire?
Guilty.
I just remember seeing her collapse.
I remember grabbing Joe's arm, and I remember feeling my legs just kind of go out from under me.
She's alternating between I didn't do it, and my babies, and referring to her two children.
The court finds that the maximum sentence should be imposed.
Melanie is sentenced to life in prison plus 5 years.
We're going to fight on. This is a definite setback. This is round one. This is not the end of the story.
This is episode 14, Direct Appeal.
I see a mountain of reasonable doubt.
And thanks to these two professors turned podcasters, it turns out it isn't the end of this story.
How can anyone be convicted with that amount of reasonable doubt? It's stunning.
After sentencing, Melanie Maguire was taken to the Edna Mann Correctional Facility in Clinton, New Jersey. Her new home would be a 6-by-9-foot cell.
It's just beginning for us now. We'll never give up. We will never, ever give up for her until the truth comes out.
On Direct Appeal, we examine the murder conviction of Melanie Maguire.
This is a prepaid call from Melanie Maguire, an inmate at Edna Mann Correctional Facility.
All right. Obviously, Melanie's been convicted. She's exhausted all of her appeals at this point. So how did the idea for this podcast come about?
Melanie Maguire was looking to speak with someone about her story because she had done really poorly in the court system, and I think she was frustrated. And after visiting with her the first time, I was like, this is a story. This is important.
I expected the worst, and what I got was just one step shy. They give the verdict parole eligible at the tender age of 101.
It was very difficult. It was reliving it. This was the first time somebody was basically saying, we hear you.
What'd you say? Let's get to the juicy part.
I want to know, do you think she is innocent or guilty?
In the end, I believe that Melanie Maguire was wrongfully convicted.
So you believe an innocent woman is behind bars right now?
Absolutely. I believe this is a case of a wrongful conviction.
So let's talk about some of the questions you raise in your podcast, and let's begin with the gun.
The gun to this day has never been recovered.
One of the key witnesses for the prosecution was a forensic ballistic expert.
So these are two discharge bullets. They're referred to as a .38 caliber lead wad cutter bullet.
Is it possible that the gun Melanie bought is not actually the murder weapon?
I think it's probable.
No one plugged the serial number of my gun into a website to find out what the specifications were. Apparently each gun makes something called lands and grooves.
Lands and grooves are rifling characteristics that are machine pressed into the barrel of a gun. And when the bullet passes through the barrel, the same number of lands and grooves are going to be imprinted essentially onto that bullet.
There were 5 lands and grooves that my weapon was said to have made based on the company's website. The bullets that came out of my husband had 6 lands and grooves.
It was a mistake on a gun manufacturer's website. We were not gathering evidence from a gun manufacturer's website. The evidence that was at trial was from ballistic experts.
But the website was updated.
It was.
After this trial to incorporate the possibility that it could have 5 or 6.
I thought that was questionable. I think it's very questionable that for years historically it says one thing and then it's updated right after.
Let's talk about the garbage bags.
The prosecution had an expert that said that the garbage bag in which Bill's body was found in was consistent with the garbage bags that came from Melanie's apartment.
You can see these lines here. There's a straight line here, this sort of smooth line. There's also 2 other lines close together in basically the exact same position. This indicates that these 2 bags were made at the same facility on the same line within a very close proximity of time.
He ran tests, but he didn't do all the tests that you actually need to definitively say whether these bags matched. Even his own data shows that they probably weren't the same bags.
Well, there are always other tests that can be done in any analysis. Based on the testing we had conducted and the results that I observed, I felt competent at that time to conclude that the bags were produced during the same run.
They put on a really good show. And I think when you have props, 2 garbage bags, oh wow, those do look alike. And so what the jurors are listening to sounds like fact, when in reality, it's just someone's expert opinion.
There is something else that's significant that you think the jury should have heard more about that was found inside those suitcases.
If you look through the lab reports, page upon page upon page, white hair, brown hair, black hair, animal hair. I think that's indicative that there was animal hair where the dismemberment took place of Bill's body.
You mentioned that you found some animal hairs. Did you find anything that you considered of evidential value?
No.
And they looked high and low to connect Melanie to some pet. And once they found that there was no way to connect Melanie to these pet hairs, it became not of evidentiary value.
Why is that? Simply because they don't match your suspects?
Those hairs should have been tested because that's a huge question mark.
Melanie did not incapacitate, shoot, use a saw to dismember her husband. You know how hard it is to cut through bone. It is physically exhausting. And also, if the crime scene didn't happen there and she's home with her children all night, where is this happening? There are just too many holes in this story.
In this case, with the mountain of evidence against her and a very complex plan, I submit to you it's amazing we know as much as we do.
This was a murder trial. It wasn't a contest to see who could outsmart the investigators, and if someone is smart enough to successfully hide a crime scene, that they win.
Did you find any evidence that exonerates Melanie, that proves her innocence?
I wish we did. I had hoped we would. I still think that we might get a tip in that direction.
What do you say to the people at home who watch this and say, how dare she talk from prison and bring this all back up again? Enough pain has already befallen her husband's family, her own sons.
There's a murderer walking around. Even if we discount what's happened to me, the killer is out there. And it's not me.
She had about as good a counsel as money could buy. She certainly had a fair and impartial jury. The fact of the matter is sometimes the evidence is such that your attorneys, no matter what you can pay them, they simply cannot overcome what you've done. So she can say whatever she wants. She's a liar and she's a killer.
Today your boys are young men?
They are.
Is there anything you'd want to say to them?
There will always be questions about this case that we may never have the answers to, like if Melanie Maguire did kill her husband, why did she drive more than 300 miles to get rid of his remains in the Chesapeake Bay? His friend John Rice has a theory.
Bill did want to move down here onto Virginia Beach. After a time, he gave up on that idea. So it almost seemed like a vindictive thing on her part to drive him down. Oh, you want to go to Virginia Beach? Here you go.
Why was it important for you to tell this story on your podcast?
A lot of people who are convicted, they'll go through the appeals process, but they won't prevail. If we can investigate this, provide any type of assistance, we're possibly remedying some of the harshest parts of our system.
There are times when podcasts and media can shine a light where what the government did was not right. This is not one of those cases. A 39-year-old man lost his life before he got to see his children grow up.
You have 2 little kids.
Yep. That's the hardest part. Knowing that when I see my children, when I hug them goodbye, it could be the last time.
Ultimately, the courts would award custody to Bill's sister, Cindy LaGauche. Melanie has had no contact with them.
Today your boys are young men?
They are.
Is there anything you'd want to say to them?
Make up your own mind. Don't accept what you're just being told on the surface. Dig.
What is your level of hope that one day you might walk out of here?
I'm terrified to hope. because to have it thwarted in here, it's absolutely soul-crushing.
Bill Maguire was the father of 2 small children. He was a brother. He was a friend. And his life got cut short.
I think Bill deserves to be remembered as a fantastic friend. A dad who loved his boys. He didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves that. No one.
This is a tale out of a Southern Gothic novel. Greed, jealousy, false trails, envy. It was a fairy tale Cinderella kind of story that's supposed to have a happy ending.
Lorenzan was an absolute force on the court.
He was an instant millionaire.
Just as fast as he was making money, money was being spent.
And he loved the ladies. The ladies loved him too.
It was almost like he was just blind with love.
She put moves on him like karate chop that they don't do in Mississippi.
She saw a future with a millionaire.
And then, out of the blue, Lorenzan Wright went missing.
If he's missing, he doesn't want us to know where he is.
Developing tonight, a former player disappeared and...
We gotta investigate,
What was your interaction like with the police?
I was on them. Check this person out and this person out. I am the mother of Lorenzan Wright.
I mean, that's a mother's love for their child.
Oh my God, when I heard that story,
I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I was in the twilight zone.
Is it impossible that his friends, people who knew him and loved him, might not have known about this other side?
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency?
To actually hear the 911 call is blood-curdling.
and you hear gunshot.
You hear that dispatcher say hello over and over again.
Hello? Hello?
You hear the gunshots and you hear silence.
Sound like I'm nothing but gunshots.
That 911 call and what would come after would start a mystery in the city of Memphis that would transfix it for more than a decade.
It was the whodunit of all cases in Memphis history.
Describe Memphis to me.
Great city, great town, culture.
Elvis Presley even recorded the song Memphis, Tennessee about his hometown.
Long distance information, give me Memphis, Tennessee.
But I think of the blues. I think of B.B. King, I think of Beale Street. Memphis is the birthplace of the blues and rock and roll.
People in Memphis love to talk about the music. What they don't like to talk about as much is the crime.
Every time you turn the TV on, you hear of someone being murdered.
3 people were shot and 1 man died.
Being robbed.
An attempted robbery led to shots being fired.
A stab, a shot.
But the shooting took place on Chestnut.
It's an ongoing thing, man.
Memphis has always been this city of haves and have-nots.
Probably 30 to 40% of our people are below the poverty line. And Memphis has had its share of crime through the years.
These disparities, both racial and economic, they're still there in Memphis.
But one thing brings Memphis together, and that's basketball.
Basketball bridged a racial divide in Memphis.
It's one of those binding things that brings people together from all walks of life.
You gotta understand, people from Memphis, they just love whoever plays for them. So imagine if that player is homegrown.
Trail by 5, dribble drive, left hand followed by Lorenzan Wright.
That love then just becomes off the charts. This is why what happened to Lorenzan Wright was such a big deal. It's why I went there, to really sit down and talk to the people who knew him best. Who is Lorenzan Wright?
Lorenzan Wright was one of the best human beings that ever drew breath on this earth. A lot of good basketball players come out of here. He was one who really made it big.
It was even noted on TV broadcasts.
He come to Memphis as a superstar, so his name was all over the media, it was all over the press.
He stood out. He was a hometown hero.
My name is Deborah Marion, and I am the mother of Lorenzan Wright.
Describe what it was like bringing Lorenzan into this world.
Oh, honey. First of all, he was a big child. He couldn't just lay in my lap, because he was just too long.
So he was so long his head came off your knees?
Yes.
His mother had him at a very young age, and he was raised by his mother and grandmother within the same home.
Lorenzan's mom and dad were never married, and Lorenzan's dad, Herb, didn't live in the family home, but he was still a big part of Lorenzan's life.
By 7th, 8th grade, he was already playing with the high school team, and that's when they decided to move to get him around better competition.
Literally everywhere, they were talking about Lorenzan, even in high school. Yes.
So Lorenzan decides that he's going to go to Memphis State.
The folks in Memphis love it when Cincinnati comes a-calling. A sellout crowd expected tonight at the Pyramid.
Lorenzan drew people to the Coliseum to watch basketball. They didn't know anything about basketball.
The entire city was just buzzing with the excitement of him playing for the college.
Continues to go to, look at Lorenzan Wright on the jam.
Lorenzan was an absolute force on the court.
Exciting, athletic, big.
He loved people. He loved children. He was just a big baby.
He was a yes sir, yes ma'am person. He was raised right. That was Lorenzan.
He always had that big smile with him. That smile would just light you away. It would always get anybody.
He was only in Memphis a couple of years before he went to the NBA.
Now it's the time for me to accept the challenge of playing with the best basketball players in the nation.
That NBA draft was on TV.
The Los Angeles Clippers select Lorenzan Wright from the University of Memphis.
Memphis just exploded. We were so happy, so joyous.
It felt like we all got drafted. We just went crazy.
He was an instant millionaire, and the Clippers would make the playoffs in Lorenzan's rookie season.
It was definitely life-changing for him.
People started calling him the Howl, because after he would score or dunk, he would let off this huge howl, like he was a wolf howling at the moon.
The transition out to California was a very, very big move. Money was no object.
It was a culture shock. Memphis is a big city, but it's a big southern city, and it's not like Los Angeles.
A few years later, that didn't matter. Lorenzan Wright was going back home.
Join me in welcoming Lorenzan Wright.
To be able to play high school ball, to play college ball, and then to play in the NBA in front of your hometown, I don't know if it gets any better than that.
The whole town is excited to have Lorenzan back, and he shows his gratitude by spreading his wealth around.
He is that proverbial guy that would take the shirt off his own back and give it away.
He took care of his childhood friends a lot, right? What would he do for them?
Cars for him and everything. Let him stay with him.
His house was the spot to hang out in. It was like Disneyland at his house.
He had a gigantic pool in the back. The number of bedrooms he had, the entertainment, it was really, really nice.
And he purchased his mother a home literally 3 minutes away.
At one point, he buys you a house. What did that feel like for you?
Oh, my, look at my baby. Look at my baby.
The little shortcut from Lorenzan's house to his mom's house was a little road.
Didn't nobody else parent live on one end and the child live on the other. That was our road, our little cut through.
It's called 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 Cutoff. 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 Cutoff.
It's not a road you want to drive down there. No lights.
That was a road that if you didn't know it was there, you didn't know it was there.
It's in the city, but it actually just feels like you're out in the country. I mean, heavy woods on both sides. If you're driving, you just want to drive on through it. You don't want to stop.
Lorenzan had driven that shortcut maybe hundreds of times, and nothing had ever happened. He probably never thought for a moment that it might be dangerous.
And then, out of the blue, Lorenzan Wright went missing.
Police have joined in the search for missing NBA player Lorenzan Wright as his family is starting to fear the worst.
This is a millionaire. He's a basketball player. If he's missing, he doesn't want us to know where he is.
It was a fairy tale Cinderella kind of story that's supposed to have a happy ending.
That was the biggest mistake he ever made in his life. I think Lorenzan's strength came from the work ethic that his father instilled in him. On the court, he was a beast. Off the court, he was just a meek and mild individual.
So really, basketball was Lorenzan's entire life, really. Lorenzan met his wife through basketball.
Cheryl came into the picture his junior year of high school. He met her over the summer playing AAU basketball, and her dad was his coach.
Golden brown skin, beautiful smile. She looked really good. Very sexy.
She was easy on the eyes. I don't think he had never, ever came in contact with anyone that looked like Shara. I mean, she had all the goods.
We would say she knew she was fine and you didn't have to tell her.
There is a discrepancy about exactly when they started dating. Depending on who you talk to, she was in college when he was in high school.
He's a junior in high school, and here he is dating a junior in college, you know? He thought he was big time then.
They became friends, stayed in contact, and a few years later, that's when the relationship went from a friendship to a romantic relationship.
It was almost like he was just blind with love, right?
Yes. That girl crazy. She put moves on him like karate chop that they don't do in Mississippi.
I was hearing that Cheryl was wanting to get pregnant and to marry Lorenzan, assuming that he was going to be this great NBA basketball player.
When she saw Lorenzan, she saw a future with a millionaire.
Some of the people closest to Lorenzan see Shara as a gold digger.
So, were you concerned?
Very. He was listening on us, and I kind of like cooled down because I said, if I gotta like her a little bit, you know, to keep my son close to me.
You didn't try to disrupt the relationship because he loved her.
Exactly.
Deborah and Cheryl, they never got along. These two, they never liked each other. When she got pregnant, he was excited about it. You know, obviously his parents wasn't.
I don't think this was a situation where she was chasing Lorenzan and eventually wore him down to be with her. I think, if anything, it was the other way around.
So while we're in college doing the fraternity thing, she was about to give birth to Lorenzan Jr. at the time.
In between class and practice time, he would go see his baby.
Some of his friends and family feel that Shara has trapped him.
She knew once she had a child, it was over, marriage, because he wanted to be in the house with his child.
And at that point, you knew that she was going to get married to him.
Yes.
It was a couple years later after they got married. Of course, he had always told us that he wanted a big family.
As Lorenzan's NBA career blossoms, so does his family. He has a son, Lorenzan Jr., a daughter, Lauren, twins, Lamar and Shamar, Sophia, Lawson, and a daughter, Sierra, who died tragically of SIDS.
That could take a toll on any marriage, even a good one.
Family was everything to him.
For Lorenzan, his kids was everything to him. He spent his whole life, and everything he valued was based on his kids and love for his kids.
What were those early days in the NBA? What was the marriage like between Shara and Lorenzan?
It was good.
The two of them were living well together. They were getting along.
Yes.
For an NBA player in a marriage, there's good news and bad news. The good news, you're making millions of dollars to support your wife and your family.
They had money. They had money, and they could go and buy things. And he loved cars, and she loved jewelry. And, you know, they spent a lot of money.
Just as fast as he was making money, money was being spent.
The bad news, you're on the road a lot, and that comes with temptations.
He's a ladies' man. He loved the ladies. The ladies loved him, too.
And he would tell me every time the plane touched down, they'd be already there waiting. They were always trying to connect, trying to find out where the hookup places would be after the game.
Now, do I know that he cheated? Yes, hell, I know. I was with him half of the time.
When did they start struggling and why?
When he caught her with that guy.
He caught her being unfaithful.
Yes.
And that's when things started breaking down.
Yes.
The infidelity happened, to be fair, on both sides. So the marriage was complicated.
I think what happened to the marriage was that, they grew apart. Maybe there was some greed issues there. He would say things like, man, it's just always about money with her.
Did they have a lot of fights?
I've seen the evidence of some pretty bad brawls.
Told me the marriage ended because he didn't trust Cheryl anymore. She felt the same about him, but they were still going to try to find a way to raise these kids.
At that point, how was his relationship with his kids?
Fine.
He said this. Cheryl is the one who filed for the divorce, not Lorenzan. But he was not going to fight for it because he wanted it over with as well.
The post-divorce life between Cheryl and Lorenzan Wright appeared to be routine until that one July day when he went missing.
At that point, we said bye. They get out of the car, I drive away, and that's the last time I see my friend.
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency?
And when police would begin to pull back the curtain on Lorenzan's private life, the city of Memphis would learn some troubling new stories about its hometown hero.
There's another side to Lorenzan that you all don't know about.
It's the summer of 2010. Lorenzan Wright is living in Atlanta with his buddy Mike G.
When Lorenzan and Cheryl were divorced, he ended up moving to Atlanta. So I went and moved in on him, and, we just had a good time.
By this time, his NBA playing days are over. But what's not over, apparently, is his relationship with his ex.
Even though Cheryl and Lorenzan were divorced, they had certainly a physical relationship.
They still had an intimate relationship.
But it was more than just sex. People who know them say they were still in love and were even thinking of starting over.
Lorenzan did propose to Cheryl after they were divorced. The children saw him ask her to marry him, and Cheryl had said yes.
So on this one particular weekend that summer, Lorenzan's coming back to Memphis to visit. Cheryl calls him and asks him to go to a dance recital for their daughter, Lauren. And it turns out his sister, Denotra, is having a baby shower that weekend, too. So he's got a lot going on.
I drove Lorenzan to the airport and fly out to Memphis. As I look back and now, I think that something was going on because Lorenzan was always on edge that whole week, which I thought was unusual.
Whenever Lorenzan came to Memphis, Phil would be the first person that he would call.
Completely unexpected, out of the blue. He calls me and says, hey, bud, I'm in town. Let's hang out. Just bought a new vehicle, and I wanted him to ride in it. And we rode all around the city. He took a picture on my phone of himself that evening.
To look at that photo, you would never know that Lorenzan Wright's life was in serious danger.
Just after 10 p.m. on this hot July evening, temperatures just now dropping below 90 degrees. Doesn't look like we're going to have any relief in sight. This is Tim Van Horn, and you're listening to WREC.
Just a few hours later, a 911 call comes into the nearby town of Germantown, Tennessee.
Germantown is just east of Memphis. It's one of the smaller municipalities right outside of Memphis.
It's a very short call, and you hear a desperate voice on there. You hear a series of gunshots.
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency? Hello? 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 I don't have nothing but gunshots.
there's no caller ID, so the dispatcher doesn't know where the call is coming from specifically. They thought this call was a hang-up.
There was no follow-up.
Operator picks up the phone.
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency?
And you hear gunshot.
Hello?
To me, that calls for immediate response.
Like, you leave it alone. You leave it alone?
For our report, 2020 reached out to the Germantown Police Department to ask why they didn't immediately follow up on that 911 call. They declined to speak with us. But at the time, a department review concluded that dispatchers properly followed procedures.
It was an opportunity lost. Because on that call is the last time anybody would hear Lorenzan's voice.
I probably called him 4 or 5 times that night. And I texted him about 3 or 4 times. And I just really figured that, maybe he had fallen asleep.
He was supposed to be coming to the baby shower. I kept calling him all that day and he didn't answer the phone.
I was getting married July 20th in the Virgin Islands. And so he said that he was going to come over and be my best man. I get a phone call from one of my other great friends saying, hey man, Lorenzan is missing.
His friends weren't really concerned in the beginning because that was just Lorenzan. It's like still living that NBA life. Those guys, they'd hop on a plane and go to Vegas.
Not hearing from him, it wasn't out of the norm.
But when Lorenzan's mother found out that he wasn't even calling his daughter Lauren back, that was too much for her. She filed a missing persons report.
When I first got the news, I got a phone call. Did you hear that Lorenzan was missing? Initially, I was not alarmed. I'm thinking if he's missing, he doesn't want us to know where he is. It's on purpose. I became concerned when I saw the concern in her face and in her voice.
When that missing persons report is made officially known, it becomes a major news story.
Developing tonight, a former player for both the Memphis Tigers and the Grizzlies has disappeared, and now his family is worried about his safety.
Talk just spread all over Memphis. Where's Lorenzan? What's going on?
So the Memphis Police Department starts a missing persons investigation. When somebody goes missing, you have to look at their circumstances at the time. They look at their inner circle. Is anybody new? Did they owe anybody any money?
What was Lorenzan's financial condition after basketball?
It was not good. It was not good at all, and that really affected him greatly.
Lorenzan Wright made as much as $55 million playing basketball. But because he and Cheryl were spending like crazy, there actually wasn't that much left.
So to compensate, he always had some side businesses.
I think he was doing the side businesses just to, try to create other streams of income for when he did retire.
He wants to invest in something else, have other things going on, His dad ran his sports cafe for him. He also had a car detailing shop.
Among those off-the-court business relationships, there would be one relationship that would come back to haunt Lorenzan Wright, a man named Bobby Cole.
Bobby Cole was a high-level drug dealer. How would Lorenzan be connected to a drug dealer? But Cole was not only a drug dealer, he was also a race car driver, and Lorenzan, as it turned out, loved cars. At some point they meet, and Cole agrees to buy 2 of Lorenzan's cars.
I remember him telling me, man, I sold the guy my cars. Now, what the guy was doing, I did not know.
The feds had actually looked into this long before Lorenzan Wright disappeared to see if any of his transactions with Bobby Cole involved drugs or drug money.
And the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, actually investigated that connection, interviewed Bobby Cole. They didn't find any connection.
But those drug rumors would actually start swirling again, this time when police interviewed his ex-wife, Cheryl.
She also told law enforcement that about 6 weeks earlier, she had gotten a visit from some unknown individuals that wanted to do Lorenzan some harm.
Cheryl Wright, in talking to investigators, claims that she saw Lorenzan leaving with a man she didn't know, carrying a box with drugs
kind of painting this portrait of a guy who's troubled, who's lost all his money. He's trying to make money illegally.
Is it possible that people who knew him and loved him might not have known about this other side that involved drugs?
Well, it's possible, but he told me about everything that he was dealing with. And I believe that if he had been doing that, I believe he would have told me.
This whole idea that he was involved in drugs, what did you make of that?
Y'all don't want me to say what I want to say.
But the police are on the brink of a breakthrough.
The investigation made a dramatic turn when Memphis police found out about that Germantown 911 call.
That revelation eventually leads investigators to that desolate road, the callous cutoff, the shortcut from Lorenzan's house to his mom's. And there, they will make a chilling discovery.
Since I've been grown, I've been strong and tall. I ain't ever met nobody that could keep me on a bar wall.
Lorenzan Wright's disappearance was all over Memphis TV.
Lorenzan Wright has not been seen since Sunday.
One local news crew even got his ex-wife Shara to come to the door.
He was fine. And he's fine now, and I'm not going to believe anything other than that. He's fine now.
In those days after Lorenzan went missing, his friends are all trying to come up with plausible explanations as to where Lorenzan might be, that maybe he is fine. But there's one thing that keeps coming up, one thing that sticks out when they think back about the night he disappeared. In the hours after Lorenzan took that selfie in his friend's car, they remember that Lorenzan and Shara had a fight.
That evening, Phil and Lorenzan had been planning a father-son night with their boys. But suddenly, Lorenzan gets a call from Shara, and it was unpleasant.
I could hear Shara say, no, you bring him home now. He was like, okay, all right, fine. I don't want to argue with you. And so we drove on to the house.
Yeah, he was dropped off at Shara's house. He was just going to go see Shara.
And when we pull up at the house, he said, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to calm her down and I'll call you later and then we can go out.
So Phil drives away, having no clue that this is the last time he'll see his friend. Because a few hours later...
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency?
That 911 call, which might not have been investigated then.
Sound like nothing but gunshots.
But it is now. 9 days after Lorenzan went missing, police are all over it.
The call was revealed because they went back and checked their records, and they found that they had this desperate call from the man, 9 days earlier.
Once the 911 supervisors realized that there was a call made on that night, they did a triangulation and found the area that the call was made from. It's a rural area, a wooded area, not a lot of traffic.
And when police visit that wooded area, their worst fears are realized. They find the body.
Police in Memphis, Tennessee have found the body of former NBA player Lorenzan Wright.
Of course, it was a huge story on the local news.
They found him almost instantly. His body was found. There wasn't much left of it because it had been out there 9 days.
Even if you knew Lorenzan well, there was no way in the world that you could have identified his remains as him.
The condition of his body was shocking, that he had literally melted in the hot summer sun.
The 6'11", 255-pound NBA center was just 57 pounds when his body was found. Badly decomposed, investigators say he was shot at least 5 times.
When did you find out that he was dead?
When they found his body.
When I got that phone call, I just threw down the phone and just broke down,
It was really painful.
Me and my girlfriend jumped in her car and flew over there so quick. I was trying to get down there where he was because I wanted to walk his last step. Because me and him was like this.
So you went to the crime scene It was as if you wanted to find a clue.
Right.
By literally walking in his footsteps. Yes. You could see a mother's anguish in real time as news cameras capture her desperation to see her son.
Lorenzan Wright's mother was ushered behind the crime tape by MPD investigators. She was visibly upset but did not speak to the media before leaving the scene.
They had her on the news. Where's my baby? Screaming out, where's my baby?
Did the police let you get into the crime scene?
They let for a little bit, but they won't let me get all where he was. They let me get under the tape. I went under the tape anyway. Of course, they tried to stop me.
Did you see your son?
Nope. They won't let me get that far.
This area is woodsy. It's quiet. It's really remote. That area was also not very far from that shortcut where Lorenzan Wright once lived near his mother, the 𝐃 Cutoff.
The 𝐃 Cutoff? That was a shortcut Lorenzan had taken hundreds of times. It's a strange place for his body to show up. Was it a clue? No one was concentrating on it in that moment.
No one was talking about the fact that, that he lived nearby.
The body turning up there, does it narrow the scope of people who were involved in it, or does it widen it? It's still very hard to tell.
Publicly, yeah, there was a lot of talk about other people being involved.
You talked to people and asked, did you know anybody, any reason why anybody would want to hurt Lorenzan? Was he involved in illegal activity?
They also found shell casings and actual bullets.
Turns out police found shells from 2 different caliber weapons. This is a critical piece of evidence. It means that more than one gun was used in the shooting.
Lorenzan was shot 5 times, but he was shot with 2 different guns. So we got another shooter.
But then it got really real to us. And he's gone. Somebody has killed Lorenzan.
I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, who could have killed my friend? Why would somebody want him to die?
The answers wouldn't come quickly. In fact, it would take a book written 5 years later to shed new light on the case. A book written by none other than Shara herself.
And then this book comes out, which almost appears to give clues.
We honor and remember Lorenzan Wright.
Lorenzan's funeral was almost a state affair here in Memphis.
It was held at FedEx Forum, a place where he once played basketball as an NBA player. And now it was where thousands of people came out to mourn the loss of their hometown hero.
They put together a beautiful ceremony. His pledge brothers, we were all pallbearers for the funeral.
I was asked to do the eulogy.
His smile was infectious, his work ethic unmatched, his generosity prolific, and his commitment unswerving.
The thing that I remember the most about the funeral is Shara hugging me and saying, thank you for such a beautiful eulogy. Ren would have loved that.
It was such a tragic situation, seeing his kids suffer like that, knowing they'll never see their father again.
This tragic moment, that funeral, it morphs into this, who done it, because no one knew who did it.
At the beginning of a case, you have to remain objective and you have to let the evidence lead you. You have to prepare yourself to be surprised sometimes.
This is now essentially a cold case because 9 days have passed. A body has been in sweltering heat, which degrades evidence tremendously.
The killers had a 9-day head start on us. There were no witnesses, so this was not an easy case at all.
Because in these kinds of things, the spouse is always a suspect. They're looking at Shara hard.
My number 1 suspect was the person that I hear everybody else talking about, was Shara.
You were suspicious of Shara at this point?
Yes.
Okay, did you tell the police?
Yes.
What did they say to you?
We got to investigate.
We thought she was being forthcoming with information, and in the midst of that, she chose to lawyer up.
Lawyering up may not look good, but it doesn't mean she had anything to do with the man's murder. You need evidence if you're going to arrest someone.
And so far, there is no evidence that points to Shara.
And she denies involvement on a local interview.
If I knew who did this to Lorenzan, you would know who did this to Lorenzan.
When Cheryl was not arrested, like, well, maybe she didn't do it. Then started thinking about, well, okay, what about the drug thing? You know, maybe that went wrong some kind of way.
They were absolutely looking for guys who had come into Memphis, hitmen, to kill Lorenzan, and that just didn't make any sense at all. If a guy owes you a lot of money, what point is it killing him? You'll never get your money back by killing him.
We did look into it. I mean, if the ex-wife is telling us this, we have to investigate it.
What was your interaction like with the police?
I was on them.
How often did you go down there?
Every day.
Every day? Saying, I want you guys to get on this and find his killer.
And this person did this, and check this person out, and this person out.
We just say mama bears take care of their cubs. She was relentless in her pursuit of justice for him.
Not to let her son's life and legacy just go down the drain. I mean, that's a mother's love for their child.
Deborah Marion says she'll keep fighting until her son's killers are held accountable.
I'm never, ever, ever, ever gonna give up.
Every anniversary of his murder, she did a candlelight vigil.
Deborah Marion says the vigil is for family, friends, and the public to come together and remember Lorenzan.
Every birthday, she would release balloons at his gravesite.
My son ain't did nothing to nobody to be murdered.
But all of Deborah's efforts aren't making any difference. For years, the police don't arrest anyone, and Shara seems to have moved on with her life.
After his death, she became more involved in the church that she had already been a part of and did actually become a pastor in that church.
To me, of course, my own prejudice admitted she was no preacher. Her lifestyle had not changed, and she was just always after the money.
The people who want to accuse Shara of being involved in Lorenzan's murder point to the fact that she did receive $1 million payout from his life insurance policy.
Shara ended up in a long, protracted legal battle with Lorenzan's father, Herb, and he claimed that she was spending money on extravagant items and not on the children.
I didn't work from the time we separated.
She was buying fancy cars, and it got pretty dirty. You know, it was all of them in court, you know, fighting over the money.
That's common for family members to fight over proceeds and to end up in court. So that didn't have any significant impact on the case.
But an investigator never knows when something odd will come up. And in this case, something odd and unexpected does come up. Shara writes a book.
Cheap dime store novel type of book that is very curious, has a lot of clues about, you know, what happened.
The book is called Mr. Tell Me Anything. It's the story of a woman who has a tumultuous marriage with an NBA player. It's supposed to be fictitious, but it doesn't seem that way.
It's almost like a confession that falls short of fully confessing, and she wants publicity. So I interviewed her in July of 2015 for about an hour and a half. Sure, I'm going to need you to speak up because I'm worried about the background noise.
Commercial appeal reporter Mark Paraschia conducts an extensive interview with Shara at a restaurant called J. Alexander's. It's a busy, trendy restaurant chain in Memphis.
Let me ask you this, Shara. The book, why did you write it? What are you hoping to accomplish?
The marriage, I mean, you go through your ups and downs. I just believe that when the downs become more overwhelming and there's more downs than ups, then that's the time to kind of go back and see which one outweighs the other.
In the interview, Shara explains that the NBA player depicted in the book is abusive, not just verbally, but physically. And she claims the character is based on Lorenzan.
Lorenzan had a problem with keeping his hands to himself. Or Mr. Tell Me Anything, this character did. And I grew him from Lorenzan, like I produced him from experiences with Lorenzan. And so, yeah, he had a problem with that.
You're planning a sequel too, right? If I read that right.
Yeah.
When is that coming out?
It's 90% done. It's going to take you all the way up to Mr. Tell Me Anything's death and just a little bit past it.
Is Mr. I mean, I don't want to give away your book, but is Mr. Tell Me Anything murdered?
Oh, yes, he is.
That was a kind of chilling moment in the recording. Let's see, it gives Paraschia an invitation to ask about the real life circumstances surrounding Lorenzan's death.
Any idea who did this? Or
I don't know.
She missed her husband. She wanted them to find the killers, and that there's no reason for anybody to suspect her. Did you have anything to do with his murder or his disappearance?
I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm an author. And the police should find his killer. For my name to be even in the same sentence or something like that, I'm a minister of the Lord, and I've never been in any type of trouble or anything. I'm a mother, an author, and a wife.
She just flat denies it. To me, she had was very convincing.
But Shara would soon appear very convincing to another reporter who comes to do a story on her. His name is 𝐄𝐏𝐿vin 𝐶𝐿𝐿, and he's about to commit a cardinal sin for a professional journalist.
I was like, she's tall, she's beautiful, I'm in trouble. We started dating immediately.
𝐄𝐿vin 𝐶𝐿𝐿 may believe he's found true love, just as a Memphis dive team finds something critical at the bottom of this lake.
The Memphis Tigers and the Grizzlies has disappeared, and now his family is worried about his safety.
Georgetown 911, where's your emergency? Hello?
This is almost like a tale out of a Southern Gothic novel. Greed, jealousy, false trails, envy, cold-blooded murder. It's compelling on so many levels.
It's a soap opera gone awry.
Wright was found in a wooded area just outside Memphis.
This is not only a news story, but it's a sports celebrity story. It's a murder story all wrapped into one.
It's just one of those things that I could never put together. How does such an amazing guy end up dead and in a field?
It was a case that until we solved it, it was going to hunt us. It was literally going to hunt us.
But his mother, God bless her heart, she continued to keep it in the forefront, to keep it going.
I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to give up.
But Deborah wouldn't give up on it.
She is absolutely the heroine. She is the hero of the story. She harassed literally the police department every day.
She kept the heat on the police. She was in the news media for years, criticizing them for not doing enough to finding out who killed her son.
She basically told me once I became the director, you're going to solve my son's murder. And you're not going to get rid of me.
You let everybody know that you would not rest until your son's killer was found.
Yes.
I wanted to solve it really, really bad. You know, not only for the city, for Lorenzan's mom and for his kids. I've never seen a mom to be that emotionally distraught over the murder of her child. And I've investigated a lot of murders. She was heartbroken. She was heartbroken, and that was very difficult for me to watch.
So while the case has gone cold, Lorenzan's ex-wife, Shara, has not withdrawn from the public, and many people are suspicious of that. The book she's written, supposedly fictitious, called Mr. Tell Me Anything, it's making headlines and raising eyebrows.
And it seemed to garner the attention of one man in particular, 𝐄𝐿vin 𝐶𝐿𝐿. 𝐶𝐿𝐿 was a journalist who interviewed Shara about her book. He was one of the people I really wanted to talk to when I visited Memphis because of how close he said he got to her. What is Mr. Tell Me Anything?
For me, it was the inside look at an NBA wife.
What does the man do to the woman in this book?
Oh, man. He breaks her. He breaks her mind, he breaks her will. According to the book, affairs, there is some domestic violence in there.
I believe that the stories that were described in that book are based on what really happened, yes.
It does make Lorenzan look like a really bad guy.
In this book, there are specific descriptions of violence. And what do you make of that?
I just don't believe it. I think that is purely fiction.
If he was all of that, why she stayed with him so long? She could have got a divorce at any time and got plenty of money. Girl, please. I don't believe nothing she say. If she tell me that her hair is black, I say, no, it's orange.
I just believed it. I was like, she's bearing all.
Kelvin Cowens doesn't just believe her. He says he was romantically falling for her. It's something that, as a journalist, he admits was crossing the line.
While they were dating, and even after they moved to Houston, she completely convinces him that she had nothing to do with Lorenzan's murder.
Well, I'm like, if she had done something, they'd have her by now. I mean, I would have never moved away with her if I thought she was a killer.
Shira moved out of Memphis because she was tired of the suspicion and all the negative publicity she was receiving here.
Did anybody know who she was in Houston? Did anybody treat her in a certain way because of that?
No, no one treated her different. No one treated the kids different. It just wasn't a subject. We were embraced in Houston.
She moves to Houston, appears to live a quiet life, but one problem. Kelvin said he never could quite get used to Shara's love for money.
That was like, oh my God, not about money again.
Cowan says they started arguing because he says long after the fight over the insurance money, Shara still wanted more from the estate, and he claims it blew apart their relationship. Why was it the last straw?
Greed. I cannot believe that, your apex of life is still, how much more money can I get?
And you couldn't live with that?
I couldn't.
The relationship ends. Shara moves to California with the kids to be near her brother, and Kelvin moves back to Memphis. Neither of them are aware that the Memphis police are about to take a new look at Lorenzan's murder.
They call it Operation Rebound. They want to rebounds, to use a basketball term, go through the evidence one more time, find that one key break.
I received a phone call from the Memphis Police Department, and he said, we want to run through everybody's story again.
By now, Tony Armstrong has left the department, but he's still following the case closely.
I immediately thought, okay, somebody has gotten themselves in a tight spot, and they're starting to talk.
The police suddenly announced, we found the murder weapon in a lake in Mississippi.
News about finding at least one of the guns was all over local news.
7 years later, the gun the killer may have used was found in a lake in Walnut, Mississippi in Tippah County.
How did you hear about them finding the gun in the lake?
They called me.
The news got around town. They found the gun. They found the gun.
And I'm like, what? You found after all this time, how? And now the next thing I'm thinking, okay, now who was it? Who killed Lorenzan?
And that's when this man enters the story. A man who cops say is the whole reason they found that gun in the lake in the first place. Because he claims he knows who put it there.
You mean what? Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me?
There is a Bible verse that says you can be sure that your sin will find you out. I knew someone was going to talk, and I knew for certain it was going to involve Shara.
The rebirth of the Lorenzan Wright murder investigation largely is built around Jimmy Martin.
Jimmy Martin was a 34-year-old former rap artist who went by the name of Trickster. He was also Shara Wright's cousin. Martin was convicted in a totally unrelated case with killing his girlfriend. But according to prosecutors, that's when he approached cops with a story about what he says happened to Lorenzan.
It was in between the conviction for second-degree murder and his sentencing that Jimmy Martin offered this story.
I can see him saying, you know what, I'm in big trouble. I need to give them some information that's going to lessen my time.
He meets with investigators and he has a story to tell.
So what you are about to hear is what prosecutors said in court is Jimmy Martin's story about what he says happened to Lorenzan. Jimmy tells investigators that Shara Wright is involved in Lorenzan's murder with one other person. a man named Billy Ray Turner.
Billy was the guy that cut the grass.
Billy Ray Turner was a landscaper, a yard man, who happened to be a deacon in a small country church that Shara attended.
Here's what Jimmy Martin supposedly told prosecutors about that landscaper, Billy Ray Turner.
Jimmy Martin says that he had once gone to Atlanta with Billy Ray Turner to try to kill Lorenzan. Remember, Lorenzan had moved to Atlanta after his divorce in 2010 and moved in with his old buddy, Mike Gibson.
I had no clue, no awareness of anything like this.
Prosecutors say Shara was also in Atlanta around this time.
There's underpinnings to Jimmy Martin's story because, you know, she did show up down there.
I can remember her coming to Atlanta for the first time to see the condo. Very unusual. She had never been down there.
And while Shara was there at the condo, Jimmy alleges, she was setting the stage for a murder.
Jimmy Martin says Shara Wright left the window open so he and Billy Ray Turner could go inside to kill Lorenzan Wright.
In court, prosecutors detail step by step what Jimmy Martin says happened next.
Billy Ray and Jimmy Martin go through a window and they're looking for Lorenzan, but they can't find him.
Turns out that Lorenzan wasn't even home at that moment.
I was there laying on the couch. Had I woke up, or had Lorenzan been there, we'd both be dead.
The story Jimmy Martin tells investigators is that there's another man asleep on the couch, so they don't go through with the plan.
With that attempt foiled, prosecutors allege a new plot to kill Lorenzan was hatched. This time, they say, unfortunately, it worked.
The body of former pro basketball player Lorenzan Wright has apparently been found in Memphis. Sources say it appeared Wright had been shot several times.
Martin claims to investigators that a few days after Lorenzan's death, Shara and Turner confessed to him that they murdered Lorenzan. And that he helped them clean up the crime scene. Prosecutors said in court that Martin told cops that a metal detector was used to try to find a gun that was dropped during the murder there. Martin claims that he and Turner drove to Walnut, Mississippi, where he alleges Turner threw a gun in a lake. That lake is about 45 miles from Memphis, and in 2017, that's where the FBI conducted that search and found a gun at the bottom.
They were able to do forensics on this pistol that was recovered and determined that those shell casings came from that gun.
Even though police know that there were 2 weapons used in the shooting, this evidence alone is huge.
Developing right now, new information in the unsolved murder of Lorenzan Wright. Authorities now say a gun found over the summer may be the one used in the crime.
They're announcing, we found this gun. Why are they doing that? The reason they were doing that is they were telegraphing to the suspects to put them in a panic mode.
So law enforcement starts monitoring Shara and Billy Ray's cell phones and allege they learn incriminating information.
Law enforcement is able to record those calls.
Next thing you know, boom, there's this guy on TV. They're handcuffing.
46-year-old Billy Turner sits behind bars this morning, arrested at a Carterville gas station.
It was a standard arrest. There was no incidents to it. This person who, for the past 25 years, had not had any sort of troubles.
Real nice guy, always just laughing. No, he never showed aggression or anything like that.
I'm just like, who is Billy Ray Turner? Who is that?
I've never heard about Billy Ray Turner. The only thing that I knew, and I ended up putting 2 and 2 together, is that Lorenzan, he told me, you know, Cheryl's sleeping with everybody in Memphis. She even sleeping with her gardener, which was Billy Ray.
Continuing coverage for you now this midday about the suspect charged with killing former Memphis basketball player Lorenzan Wright. Billy Turner entered a not guilty plea on charges that he murdered Wright more than 7 years ago.
Emotions were extremely heavy in Billy Ray Turner's first appearance in a Shelby County courtroom.
And these hearings were televised, right?
Yes.
That's how high the interest was.
Yes. They would break into the regular day programming. It was like the big thing here.
New developments this midday in the 2010 murder case of Memphis basketball star Lorenzan Wright.
When I saw him, I knew instantly she had used him because that's not what she want. You know, he ain't had no money. She don't deal with no grass cutter.
Good morning, sir. You have a mother who searched for answers for all of these years and then finally associated a face with the person responsible for taking my son's life. And all the emotions just came out.
I jumped up and I asked him, how could you have murdered my son?
Little did Deborah know this mystery in Memphis wasn't even close to being solved. It's Billy Ray Turner's arraignment, the first time anyone has ever gone before a judge in connection with Lorenzan Wright's murder.
The victim's mother was emotional at the sight of Billy Turner in court.
Lorenzan Wright's mother stands up in the middle of the proceedings and yells,
how could you have murdered my son? That's what I didn't know just happened.
The atmosphere was one of just, wow. The air seemed to be sucked out of the room at that point.
Why? Who are you? We don't know you. It's like a stranger killing somebody.
That's right. Step to the mic. And I could see the pain in her, and I saw how she expressed that pain to him. And I knew it was real.
Ms. Wright, I understand your pain, and you're not helping your son. You're not helping the administration of justice by engaging in that sort of an outburst. If that happens again, I would have to bar you from the courtroom, and I don't want to do that to you, Mrs. Wright. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No, I told him what I want to.
But please don't do that again.
So I shut my mouth for the rest of the court.
Now the question is about Shara, who, remember, was living in California, but was never far from Deborah's mind.
We have Thursday night Bible study, and I got so emotional. I said, God, please get Cheryl Robinson right. Please. That's what I said that Thursday night. Friday, she was locked up.
Cheryl Wright Robinson was taken into custody last night in Riverside, California.
The news feed hit that said that she had been arrested for the murder of Lorenzan Wright, and I said, hot damn, they got her.
Cheryl Wright Robinson has been indicted for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, criminal attempt first-degree murder, and first-degree murder for her ex-husband, Lorenzan Wright.
And I'm like, I just spent almost 3 years of my life with a killer.
They'd extradite her and bring her back. It was Memphis Police Department's one of their finest moments of finally putting this thing together.
Today in court, Shara Wright, right there behind me, pleaded not guilty to killing her husband.
Shara, basically, I think the reality of finally being caught really took the life out of her.
In an orange jumpsuit, Shara Wright shook her head as Judge Lee Coffey laid down the law.
Ms. Wright does appear to be an ongoing danger to Shelby County, Tennessee.
Judge Coffey gave Wright a $20 million bond.
She looked horrible.
This is a bizarre situation. Shara, who's been this sexy, beautiful person with a lot of money, a lot of boyfriends, she's now on her way to jail. This is not going to work for her. It's not uncommon for people to act in a bizarre way in jail, particularly the ones who've never been in jail.
She began to unravel.
According to Jail East staff, Wright berated workers, stripped off her clothes, and flooded a toilet.
She was acting very strangely. She had stripped naked and yelled out, "I'm going swimming."
Ms. Wright's behavior yesterday is absolutely shocking.
I don't think she's right mentally. I think that's why she said she was going swimming in this jail cell.
I think all the things that she was doing while in jail were all acts of her trying to plead insanity. I did not buy that at all.
There was a lot of speculation as to whether or not she was being theatrical or had legitimate claims of what she was going through.
In a stunning new development inside the Shelby County courtroom Wednesday morning, Shara Wright's attorney stepped down.
I'm not certain what happened between Shara and her former lawyers.
And a new legal team steps in.
Quite frankly, we found that Shara was easy to work with.
She had been prescribed some medication that altered her behavior. Once we were appointed on the case, her behavior had stabilized and she had no significant problems after that.
I'm excited. I think we can do well. A case like this does not come along every day. And we were honored to defend Shara.
The objective is to give us the fairest opportunity to present our defense in the case.
Meanwhile, Billy Ray Turner is lawyered up too. He brings in one of Memphis's most high-profile attorneys.
John Keith Perry is kind of a rising star criminal defense lawyer. This is one of his, big cases.
There's a substantial amount of investigating that needs to continue. I was contacted by the family of Mr. Turner, and I've been on this case now since the end of 2017. We've read and listened to, I think, just about all of the discovery. Now you compile notes, lay out your outlines, see the points of attack. I've never had a reason to regret representing Billy Ray Turner.
According to his attorney, Billy Ray Turner has constantly said he had no involvement in the murder of Lorenzan Wright. He stands by that then, and he stands by that now.
We think that if given a fair slate, Mr. Turner will walk out with me. I absolutely think that he did not do it.
Perry has several questions about the alleged case against Billy Ray Turner, starting with his connection to Shara.
Some of the things that I've heard through the community about this super romance, and that he would have been willing to jump bridges and over rivers or whatever. I haven't seen that.
And more importantly, Perry says, consider the source. He says the prosecution's case starts with Jimmy Martin's story. And his criminal history, according to Perry, makes him not credible.
Could he be the one that did it? Absolutely. With the statement that he gave, how he gave that statement, and the fact that he is a convicted murderer, yes, there's an absolutely a chance that he could have committed the act himself. Credibility-wise, he would be low on the totem pole, I think.
Maybe he's just trying to minimize his involvement in all this. He's flipped, he's turned a deal.
So far, there is no proof that Jimmy Martin received any benefit from cooperating in the Lorenzan Wright case. But we do know he's never been charged in connection with Wright's murder. Neither Martin nor prosecutors would talk with us. But now the stage was set for a climactic trial in the Lorenzan Wright murder. Did you expect these cases to lead to conviction? And did you expect that to happen fairly quickly?
Once the gun was found, I did.
No case is a slam dunk. No murder case is a slam dunk.
However, no one was prepared for what would actually happen next.
I walk to the assignment desk, and she hangs up the phone and frantically says, I just got a tip. Go down to the courthouse.
A significant development in the Lorenzan Wright murder case.
A gun found over the summer may be the one used in the crime.
Shara Wright Robinson was taken into custody.
Well, the buildup was huge. We were expecting probably a weeks to months long trial.
The judge is expected to rule this spring on a host of pretrial motions from Shara Wright's and Billy Turner's legal teams.
They were going to be tried together as co-defendants. That was my understanding.
If Shara and Billy Turner were tried together, our defense could be consistent.
I think that the evidence in the case that the state has, we're anxious to get before 12 jurors and see what they think.
Anytime you have multiple suspects, people are going to start throwing each other under the bus. And inevitably, it basically boils down to who can cut the deal first.
In the several months that Billy Ray Turner and Shara Wright appeared together as defendants, there was always a lingering question. which of them could potentially plead first.
I thought Billy was going to use his head. I thought he was going to take the plea first.
It became evident to Junie and me that the state wanted to work out a deal with Billy Turner.
A surprise twist tonight in the Lorenzan Wright murder case.
Shara's lawyers say they realized that troubling sign in June of 2019 when Billy Ray was in court for another matter.
He's never said that he had a firearm related to killing anyone at all.
Billy Ray's between a rock and a hard place. He's got a gun charge unrelated to the Wright murder and faces up to 20 years behind bars if he's found guilty. He decides he's got only one choice: plead guilty to the gun charge.
Now, is that what you want to do, sir? Yes. Has anyone threatened you, promised you anything, put any force, any pressure on you in order to get you to give up these rights to plead guilty, sir? No.
Billy's convicted felon in possession of a handgun trial was scheduled in June of 2019, but on trial date, he pled open to the court.
Upon your plea of guilty to indictment 1801702, a Class B felon have been a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, it is the judgment of this court, Mr. Turner, that you are guilty.
He pled open to the court. He doesn't know definitively what sentence he's going to get.
Shara's lawyers are seeing this play out, and they're really worried about it. Here's why. It's possible the judge could take pity on Billy Ray and reduce his sentence if he cooperates with authorities and testifies against Shara Wright.
His potential time was completely left up to the judge.
Thank you, sir. You step down from the witness stand, Mr. Turner.
That was highly unusual and to us indicated that he would be cooperating.
Shara's lawyers are not taking any chances. Her lawyers go to visit her in jail, and what they tell her would shock everyone. They say she needs to consider a plea deal.
We told her, if Billy testifies against you, it's going to be disastrous.
Look at Shara Wright to the courtroom, please.
One morning, out of the blue, we get a frantic phone call into our newsroom, a tip from the courthouse. Shara Wright plans to plead guilty.
In a stunning twist and unscheduled appearance this morning, Shara Wright agreed to a plea deal in the murder case of her ex-husband, Memphis basketball star Lorenzan Wright.
She realized that I'm not willing to roll the dice. I'm not willing to take a gamble on this, and she cut the deal.
No one had any foresight or knowledge that they were going to do that.
Raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Do you solemnly swear or affirm?
Everybody was sitting on the edge of their chairs.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. They wanted to see what was Shara's role in this.
We know Shara Wright is there to plead guilty, but we don't know entirely what she's pleading guilty to.
Was right, the agreement that you have to say is that you would plead guilty to the included charge in count 1 to facilitation of first-degree murder.
In the deal, the 48-year-old pleaded guilty to 2 counts: facilitation of first-degree murder and facilitation of attempted first-degree murder.
Facilitating. Yes, sir. Facilitating the murder. I've never heard of that charge.
In the plea deal, Shara Wright pleads guilty to the lesser crimes of plotting the murder, but not the actual first-degree murder charge.
You are asking this court to find you guilty without a trial and set this punishment which has been recommended on your case. Now, is that what you want to do, Ms. Wright?
That is correct. She admitted that she had facilitated Lorenzan's murder.
But she doesn't name Turner or any accomplices in pleading guilty. When you heard that Shara was entering a plea, what did you think?
She's trying to outsmart him. I think she just decided to bite the bullets, so to speak, on the murder and to figure a way to get the less amount of time that she could.
Prosecutors would not comment to 2020 about the case.
She knows she was finna go down, 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 way down. She wasn't gonna get no few years. She gonna get some lifetime.
Ms. Wright, it is the judgment of this court that you are guilty. This court sets your punishment at 30 years confinement in the Tennessee Department of Corrections.
She received a 30-year sentence, of which she'll serve 30% before release eligibility.
I think our prosecutors failed us, those of us that loved him. I think she played him.
My reaction was, I was sick in the stomach. I'm like, are you kidding me? She may only do 9 years. Lorenzen, he lost the rest of his life, and she may only have to do 9 years. I felt really bad, felt really sick. I said, that's not fair.
It's not about fairness. I think it's a concept the public wants to believe in. When the state and the defense comes to a negotiated plea agreement, then generally speaking, the court will approve it.
If the sentence surprised a lot of people in court, though, what came next was even more shocking.
Ms. Marion, when you were first in court, you had some things that you wanted to say.
Yes. A mother is about to confront the woman who arranged her son's murder. After all these years, what will Deborah have to say?
Shira Wright walked into the Shelby County courtroom this morning. She agreed to a plea deal in the murder case of her ex-husband, Memphis basketball star Lorenzan Wright.
Even after Shira pleads guilty to facilitating their father's murder, her children are said to be standing behind her.
I know the kids were at some time maybe still are in denial of Mama's involvement, and you can understand that.
The children support Shira because they love her.
The children were very aware of the complicated dynamic between Shira and Lorenzen. And so they came into this situation with all the history of what they experienced. So they had unique perspectives on what had occurred between them.
What do you think about the fact that they're standing with and supporting their mother?
Well, that's their mom. It's probably hard to see her as she truly is.
I haven't seen them. I'm just going to love them from afar.
You can imagine a mother not just losing her son, but in the manner that it happened in all these years, suspecting it was Shira, and it turns out, yeah.
After she agreed to the deal, Lorenzan Wright's mother, Deborah Marion, spoke directly to her former daughter-in-law.
Ms. Marion, when you were first in court, you had some things that you wanted to say.
Yes. Judge Coffey gave Deborah the opportunity to address Shira.
I will allow you to vocalize or verbalize anything that you want right now, Ms. Marion, because you have that right under our Constitution now.
I couldn't wait to hear what she was going to say.
The room was quiet, it was tense, and it was locked in as Lorenzan Wright's mother looked directly in the eye of Shira Wright.
I was thinking about it the whole while as it was going on, what I was going to say. But once I got up to that mic, my train of thought just changed. I focused on my grandkids.
But Sharon, I want to thank you for giving me my grandchildren. That's what I want to thank you for.
Instead of anger and outrage, she looks at Shira Wright and gives more of a sense of compassion and family and love.
But I want you to unlock them so I can visit them, so they can see their grandma. Because Sophia keep calling, she wants to come make chicken and dumplings.
And I didn't expect her to bring up the kids, but I was so glad that she did.
But I want you to call them. No, it's okay to talk to your grandma. Grandma still loves you. That's all I want, my grandkids. I just hate what happened to my child. But he left nice looking kids here for his grandma. But they want to see me like I want to see them. I'm ready for them to come back to home with their family. I miss them.
Well, I was trying to tell her to get the loop off my grandkids so they can call me like they used to do. But, I know she got them reeled in.
Most of the children were adults. Shira Wright was not standing in the way of the children having a relationship with Deborah Marion.
To see her basically plead to Shira to let the kids be with her, it touched my heart.
Deborah, she played it well, because no matter what you say in court to that woman, it's not going to bring your son back.
Am I able to respond to her?
What a moment that is. It appears that Shira is about to say something to Deborah, and everybody is on the edge of their seat.
Ms. Gangley, you want your client to say anything at this point, sir?
Shira did want to respond. I advised her not to, because at that point, what difference does it make
No, Miss Wright has nothing to say at this time.
Well, she had nothing to say to me. She didn't even say I'm sorry. You could see it on her face. She wasn't sorry.
I know what's happened to you and your family, your son, can never be undone by anything that he's forced to. But I hope it brings you some closure. I hope it allows your family to continue to heal. Again, thank you for your patience, and we'll deal with Mr. Turner's case in September now. Thank you all for being forth today.
With no trial for sheriff, the city of Memphis still has a lot of unanswered questions. Next up is Billy Ray Turner's trial. This is the last chance to get some answers.
May be an understatement, but that's how Shelby County doctors are describing the ongoing challenges in fighting the current surge of COVID-19 numbers.
The trial of Billy Ray Turner is scheduled for this fall, but with everything going on in the world with COVID-19, it's unlikely that that will happen.
I absolutely plan to fight like hell for my client in that courtroom. I ask the public one thing, that if you have your preconceived notions, pay attention to it as the case is presented in the courtroom, then stand in judgment of it.
I hope that the truth comes out, and I hope that he does time for the role that he took in Lorenzan's murder.
I'm not really worried about what happened to Billy Ray in his upcoming trial. Lorenzan's dead because of the sheriff.
At this point, it's unclear if Sheriff will ever say what happened, leaving everyone else to just simply speculate. And even I still have questions. What actually happened that night out by the 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 Cutoff Road? How did Lorenzan end up out there that night? Was there a second gunman? And who shot him? And the most perplexing question, why?
I would say the motive is that he was worth more dead than he was alive.
Ultimately, only she knows why she did it. Money, love, envy, it really is a tragic story.
Meanwhile, the people involved in the story are finding out that even 10 years later, there's no shortage of public interest in Lorenzan Wright's murder.
I got a documentary coming out. It's called A Million Reasons. You get to hear her talk for herself. You get to see a real inside look on our life. Well, you get to see what did she spend all that money on, in detail. I don't have a monster to sell you. I'll tell you about Sheriff Wright, and you make your own decision. You'll be able to see it for yourself.
When you are the mother of 6 kids and you married to their father and you would see him dead, that's just evil, that's wicked.
His kids, they suffered because not only was their father taken, but their mother was taken too. There are no winners in this case.
And I know that he's looking down on them with that huge smile that he has. And he wants the best for them, and he would love for them to be a part of his mother and father's life.
Not only was he physically murdered, but then his character was assassinated. I want people to know who Lorenzan Wright was, what type of human being he was. The lies that were told earlier about drugs, too many people bought into those lies. And so we're trying our best right now to cleanse the name of Lorenzan.
The drugs, the physical abuse, his friends say none of those things are true. And he deserves to be remembered as the good family man they knew, a man they will never forget.
With Lorenzan, I be talking to his picture. Sometimes his picture could look at me a certain way, actually like it's really him. And I have to just stop, just talk to him. He was a mommy boy, simple as that. He would still be mama's boy if he was here now. Because he's still my firstborn.
You're as cold as ice. The last thing they would expect is to find a suitcase with a human body in it.
There was no doubt of what it was. It was a set of human legs. Oh my gracious.
The big question is, how the hell did he get there?
They were crazy in love at first, but it quickly became tumultuous. There were infidelities, they'd fight. I think they liked the drama.
You're as cold as ice.
The person who did that would look like a monster, but sometimes killers look just like Melanie Maguire.
Do you still insist that you're innocent?
Absolutely.
Now, the all-new Jailhouse interview.
Who do you think killed your husband?
New details, stunning audio recordings.
Is there anything else you're not telling me?
Like what? Like I killed my husband.
Did you?
But thanks for asking.
The secret in the suitcase.
It turns out it isn't the end of this story.
The new 2020 True Crime Event Special. Next Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
Do you think you know me?
What you want? Baby, I got it.
I've been down this road before. I want respect.